We're here. We're really here. We are. Told ya.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in the Tuesday morning edition of the Rob Brown Show is live. Good to have you guys. Happy Tuesday. Hope that your week got off to a fantastic start with a solid Monday. Hope that you're ready to rock and roll today because we have got a big time show lined up for you this AM. We are going to be speaking, if you have not heard, coming up here in 44-ish minutes from right now with the head coach of the University of South Carolina football program, Shane Beamer, is going to join us on the show. Had the opportunity the last couple of days to speak with the SID folks over there in Columbia. They said, yeah, Coach Beamer be happy to come on. So we will get Shane Beamer with us here in about 44 minutes. And there's plenty of other stuff we need to get to on the radio broadcast today. Clemson's football schedule has been released. We're going to take a look at that coming up here in just a little while from right now. We'll talk about some of the most interesting games on the docket. We'll talk about the most difficult stretch laying ahead in the 2023 program for Clemson. That's coming up later.
Clemson, difficult schedule. That's funny. I can't wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the great one, Lonzo Reitzel, to the program.
How can you spin it in a way to make it look like the ACC is tough?
September 23rd, FSU versus Clemson. I want you to circle that on the calendar now. Here's why. It's like week 3 or 4. It is early. The last time FSU beat Clemson was a September game, not late in the season. And while the ACC will not have divisions this year, remember, they have made the divisions defunct. That's why alliteration's dangerous, man.
They made division decisions that there are no more divisions.
Alliteration is a radio sports talk show host worst enemy.
The ACC is just one big melting pot now.
The ACC is admirably acceptable.
What?
Watch that September 23rd game. FSU at Clemson. You go ahead and bet your bottom dollar that Rob Brown will be in Death Valley that day. That one may very well be a preview of your ACC championship game.
There you go, Clemson ain't afraid. No, they did Florida State. Coach Cade's on the job, and we're going to win every single ACC game and win that championship. Go, Clemson. Woo! Woo! Woo!
I need a name for that character. Clemson Zoe isn't good enough. Zoe Hauser?
It has to have a Clemson on the front of it.
We'll see. We'll come up with a name for that character.
Clemson Joe, Clemson Tom, Clemson Bob.
It's iconic is what it is.
Clemson Billy.
So we'll talk Clemson's football schedule coming up in the next segment. Then Shane Beamer to wrap up this hour, 10 o'clock hour. Tom Brady did another podcast and spent some time talking about officiating in the league after the the AFC Championship game. We'll talk about his comments because I think they're very interesting. We will also talk Clemson basketball later in the show. They are on the road tonight at Boston College. Clemson is looking for style points. They got the dirty down in the mud points last Saturday against FSU. Now you've got to go into the house of another inferior opponent and get better. So we'll talk about that coming up towards the end of the radio broadcast as well. Andy Reid has some comments from his presser yesterday, but before we get to any of that, I have something that I found this morning. Did not catch this yesterday, found it this morning. Lonzo, I'm going to go to clip number 5 here, if you don't mind. You know, it is not uncommon for politicians, specifically congressmen, to get involved with sports, to smack talk a little bit, right? For instance, the mayor of Cincinnati decided to throw his hat in the ring when he addressed Arrowhead as Burrowhead. His name is Aftab Parival. He is the mayor of Cincinnati. He referred to Arrowhead, the home of the Kansas City Chiefs, as Burrowhead Stadium.
That worked out really well for him.
It did not work out well at all because the Bengals went in.
Jabroni.
And fell. Funny you should say that, Lonzo, because what I'm about to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, is a warning. Smack talk in sports, it's fun. It's great. It's something that you should want to participate in. However, it comes with an inherent danger. And the inherent danger of jumping in on the sports smack talk is that something will get stuck to you for a very, very, very long time. Yesterday, on the floor of Congress in Washington, D.C., Missouri Representative Mark Alford took to the podium, and he said this. Nobody cares about that. Who wants pursuant to Rule 2, Clause A, when you caught the absolute smoke right in the middle of that? If you didn't catch the best part of that, will you throw 5A? Because I clipped the only part of that matters. Now, listen, the referees were against the Chiefs. Hilarious. Thanks to the Bengals, especially Osei. Hilarious. But the best part of that smoke was right in the middle. Mayor Jabroni. It matters not what Aftab Parival does for the rest of his time in office. He could go down as the greatest mayor in the history of Cincinnati. He could go down as the greatest mayor in the history of Ohio. He could go down as the greatest mayor in the history of the United States of America. He could go down as the greatest mayor in the history of human civilization. And the only thing that I will ever remember about Aftab Parival is that he shall forever be called, Lonzo, Mayor Jabroni. That's it. That's the danger of smack talk. If Cincinnati goes into Arrowhead and claims it again, and the Burrowhead moniker sticks, Aftab Parival is going to have an Aftab Parival forever making it Burrowhead. But The flip side to that coin is Travis Kelce got him the smoke, and probably for the first time that Aftab Puraval, mayor of Cincinnati, got mentioned on the floor in the House of Representatives in the United States Congress. He will forever be known in the records of the history of the United States as Mayor Jabroni.
Now, the question is, I don't know how far they're going to go with this, but next time the Mayor Jabroni does a press conference in Cincinnati, are we going to hear some chants of Jabroni out in the audience?
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank all of you for coming today. It has taken quite a lot of work from a lot of different people to accomplish this incredible goal that we have accomplished here in downtown Cincinnati. We feel like this project, a passion project for the people that have worked on it. They have done an incredible job. And now, here to cut the ribbon and open this tremendous facility to the people of Cincinnati is Mayor Puraval. That dude, for the rest of whatever the history of the United States of America would be, will always have Mayor Jabroni as his name in the archives of freaking Congress. That's incredible.
I'm looking to see if there are Kansas City Jabroni shirts yet.
Gotta be, right?
There is. Know your role and shut your mouth. I don't know if they can get away with that though.
Mayor,
because I know that's gotta be copyright.
By the way, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, shouted out Travis Kelce yesterday because if you'll remember, Kelce said some words for Mayor Jabroni: know your role and shut your mouth. And The Rock said, I appreciate the much more venomous yo instead of the more formal your. Know your role, shut your mouth. And The Rock said he dropped the bomb on him the very next day. He is recorded for all time as Mayor Jabroni in the halls of Congress. You know, it's one thing. So when I was in middle school,
probably the most important thing they did in Congress, probably the only thing they got done that day was that, more than likely.
It's a great thing to get done. When I was in middle school, 8th grade, Meigs Middle School, starting big man for the Meigs Wildcats. And
what were your colors?
Black and gold,
okay.
True gold.
There we go.
Black and true gold. Starting big man, wearing number 00. I was making my way down the court against Bruner Middle School. Why does Rob Brown remember this? Hang in there. You'll get it. Got a rebound, turned around, gave a bounce pass at half court to my best friend, Drew Holt. As I turn to make my way down the floor, I either hit a pile of sweat or something and wiped out hard. At the end of the game, our coach walked over and said, hey, Goofy, you all right? Because I was hurting. And for about 6 years, the last year of middle school, the next 4 of high school, and for a little while after graduation, everybody on the basketball team referred to me as Goofy, thanks to our coach. Now, I have that as a core memory, putting up with people calling me that for 5 more years of my life. But then I moved on.
You know what you should have said? You should have said, gosh, coach, I'll do it all right.
What I said was, I'm fine, don't call me that. And then, of course, everybody called me that for the rest of my basketball career. It did not die until I went to college. When I got to college, I got new nicknames, and that one, for the most part, died off. Mayor Jabroni is recorded in the national bleeping archives. See, 5 years of, ha ha ha, how you doing, goofy? Because I slipped and fell in a basketball game in 8th grade against Bruner Middle School. It eventually went away. And then Rob got to college where he got new nicknames like Rob Brown when I started going by both of my names as one name. Or X because I was actually a pretty good intramural flag football player who put up the X when I scored. But none of those names are recorded in the National damn Archives forever.
I agree with all that. Did you give yourself the X nickname?
No, I did not. I just put that up.
But did you do that because you wanted people to call you X?
No, I did that because my first year in our fraternity playing flag ball, I was pretty good. And we made T-shirts as jerseys that on the front had the fraternity crest with our slogan, win or lose, we still booze.
Wow. There's a shocker right there.
Yep.
That's the fraternity Rob went to.
Win or lose, we still booze. And we had these shirts made by it was co-ed football. We had the shirts made by the sorority in charge. And the girl who made the shirt, her name was Abby. She was a doll. I will never forget her because while most of the frat bros caught their ha-ha nicknames on the back, she just put X on the back of mine. So that's what I got glossed with. And I'll live with that. I accept that. What I would not accept is a congressman putting me down in the national records as Mayor Jabroni until whenever history erases it.
So that thing that men don't celebrate, wrestling, is not only celebrated by noted not man Travis Kelce, but now Congress.
The word jabroni is now recorded in the halls of Congress and as a dude's nickname. Sorry, Mayor Purrival. No one will ever call you that again. You are forever Mayor Jabroni. So let this be a lesson to all you youngsters out there. Listen to Uncle Rob. Recognize that if you inject yourself into a battle of the smacketh, there is a chance it will backfire on you and you will stay glossed forever. Enjoy your life, Mayor Jabroni.
Can you imagine if he runs for re-election? If you're the person running against him, you've got the signs.
Oh, yeah.
All the Jabroni signs. You got to come with that.
Elect not Mayor Jabroni. All right. Texter says.
Who you want running your town? That Jabroni?
Or a guy who didn't get himself marked Mayor Jabroni. Which one are you picking? All right. Texter says, hey, Rob Brown, a.k.a. Goofy, a.k.a. X gonna give it to you, a.k.a. Tinky Winky, a.k.a. Liberob, a.k.a. Cocky Rob, ... Move on. Well, I'm sorry you hate fun, Texter, but I'll go ahead and move on. Let's take a break.
Wow, you put a lot of effort into that. That'd take you at least the length of the segment to type that out, right, Texter?
I ain't mad about it. All right. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, we will take a look up and down Clemson's 2023 football schedule. We'll talk about some of the intriguing games. We'll talk about the toughest 3 or 4 game stretch in there, and we'll talk about how it sets Clemson up for the first year in the Atlantic Coast Conference without divisions. What does that mean for the schedule? Then, coming up at around 9:45, Shane Beamer, head coach of the Gamecocks of University of South Carolina's football team, going to join us here on the Rob Brown Show. I have got some questions from you guys. I've got some of my own. Lonzo's got some as well. We'll fit in as many as we can with Shane Beamer. At the end of the hour, the Rob Brown Show is in your ear holes. This is the Fan Upstate. All right, stream, we'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. It's going to get good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Wait, I'll stop moving. It's fine. Got to get that QR code, ladies and gentlemen. This is digital advertising at its finest.
Kevin, we appreciate you listening. You're always so kind to me. So I guess the question is, who gets the long day, me or you? As usual, it's in your hands, Rob.
It's never in my hands.
Oh, it's absolutely in.
Sponsored by Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric.
At Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric, we offer flexible scheduling to meet your needs. Call Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric today or skip the line and book online. CorleyPro.com.
So what you're saying is when the Pro Bowl happens this weekend, you could be able to give those guys some tips as an awesome flag football player. Yeah, player, not
The
guy.
Senior Bowl is not a flag football game.
Huh?
Pro Bowl.
I said the Pro Bowl.
Oh, I thought you said the Senior Bowl.
I said
Because
the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, okay. I was like, is the Senior Bowl doing something? Yes, I could hand out some pretty stellar tips on flag football excellence.
When to spin, all that kind of stuff.
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. The ACC has dropped their 2023 football schedule. And therefore, we know Clemson's now. They will open on September 4th at Duke. 5 days later, they are home for Charleston Southern. How about an ACC game out of the gate for the Tigers?
Wow, powerhouse Duke.
At Duke. Big one there for Clemson.
Clemson's obviously going to be the underdog.
At Duke, opening ACC play out of the gate, September 9th against Charleston Southern. Then September 16th, 7 days later, they have got FAU, Florida Atlantic, coming to the house. Then it gets kind of interesting. Why? Because game number 4, September 23rd, Clemson welcomes FSU to the house. Clemson welcomes the Florida State Seminoles to Death Valley for the first time in 2 years. Remember, the year before last, the 2021 season, FSU came to Clemson and had Clemson up on the ropes. It took a couple of late heroic efforts to kind of break that game back in Clemson's favor.
Yeah, but Rob, that was because coaching was making a mistake and Cade wasn't playing.
This was 2 years ago.
Obviously.
Still should have played Cade.
Still Cade.
Still should have played
Still
Cade.
Cade.
Yeah. No, it took Will Shipley having a big day.
I apologize. He's talking Clemson and I phased out. And I did that live on the air and I apologize.
Will Shipley had a couple of big moments in that game late for Clemson to pull off the win at Florida State. I was at that game live, and Clemson had to gut that one out. Florida State, obviously, this year could not get to Clemson, but this is the same FSU team that turned in a 10-win season for the first time in a very long time. It is also an FSU team that, depending on who you look at and what metric you look at, may have had the best transfer haul in the entire NCAA and had a top 20 recruiting class in the process that will have an impact this year as well. Jordan Travis. Florida State fans believe that Jordan Travis will put down a Heisman caliber campaign this year. I'm not quite ready to go that far for FSU. I will say they're going to be a much better football program this year. And I will say that I think if there is a threat to Los Tigres in the Atlantic Coast Conference, it is the Seminoles of Florida State. So to get that game underway in September is very interesting for two reasons. Number one, and I can't prove this, but it does feel to me a little bit like maybe this is the ACC kind of protecting what might be an ACC championship preview. Remember, there are no divisions in the ACC moving forward. It will be the best two teams that go to the ACC title game. There is a very good chance that those two best teams are Clemson and Florida State. So by putting them early in the year, it does two things. Number one, it lets those two teams get it out of the way early, familiarize themselves, and the losing team have plenty of time to put it together before the end of the season. And then segment number two, or idea number two, thought number two, is it allows whatever team loses a pair of teams that I very much suspect will be both ranked inside of probably the top 15, maybe the top 10 when they play each other in that game. It will allow one of those teams plenty of time to get themselves right, hop back up on the rankings board in order to be in a better spot if and when they play each other in December in an ACC title game. It's really not a terrible plan. Florida State, however, does open with a very tough game down in Orlando, another neutral site game. Remember, last year they opened with LSU in New Orleans, an LSU home field advantage. FSU fans very excited. LSU does travel very well, but the next game between these two will open week 1, September 3rd, FSU, LSU down in Orlando. Florida State then catches Southern Miss the next week for the home opener. The week before Clemson, they are at Boston College. And then that September 23rd game is going to be in Death Valley. That game's very interesting. After FSU, they catch a 7-day break, do the Clemson Tigers, then at Syracuse, October 7th, back home for Wake Forest before they catch their off date in the middle of October on the 14th. Then they have what I find to be another couple of interesting back-to-back games. They are both home games. The first one's an away game, then they catch a home game. October 21st at Miami, then November 4th against Notre Dame. That is an interesting couple of back-to-back. Miami this year was shockingly not back. They were not back this year, but they had a good recruiting class. Obviously, NIL is a major factor right now at the University of Miami based on that Jaden Rashada story we've been tracking for the past couple of weeks. So they're at Miami October 21st, then back home November 4th for Notre Dame. This is a Notre Dame team that wrapped up their season strong. That got much better as the season went on. That has now given Marcus Freeman a full year on the job to earn XP. It is a Notre Dame team that knocked off South Carolina in the bowl game. Granted, it's the bowl game. A lot of guys missing. We know that those bowl games aren't accurate depictions of what the season was. More importantly, they are a snapshot of what the future will be. If that is the case, Notre Dame's future took a big bump in the right direction by knocking off SC in the TaxSlayer.com Gator Bowl. They wrap up the season November 11th against Georgia Tech, November 18th against North Carolina, and then, of course, as always, Thanksgiving weekend, November 25th. They are on the road in Columbia to take on South Carolina. I will give you the stretches that are interesting to me. September 23rd against Florida State, followed up the next week at Syracuse. That's an interesting two-game stretch to me. They are at home for the other best team in the ACC, probably, in Florida State. And then on the road at an upstart Syracuse team. Remember, a Syracuse team that has given Clemson hell the last couple of times they've lined up. Then they've got Wake open date, and then a two-game stretch at Miami on the 21st, and then back home for Notre Dame on November 4th. That two-game stretch could be very, very interesting to me as well. As we mentioned a minute ago, Miami was not back, but the recruiting is good. The NIL money has clearly helped in that direction. They have got Mario Cristobal, who is got a lot of hype behind him. I still don't know that I'm fully buying in. The Oregon folks are still trying to sell me on Cristobal being the dude. I don't know that I'm quite all in for Miami yet, but I do think that going to Miami, if the Miami Hurricanes have a good opening to the season, Miami game could be very interesting at all. The Miami schedule leading up to Clemson is opening at home against Miami of Ohio, September 9th. They are at home for Texas A&M. Then they catch Bethune-Cookman and Temple before they take the bye the last Saturday of September. They've got Georgia Tech at home October 7th, the next week at North Carolina, and then it's back home for Clemson. So they catch bye Tech UNC going into that Clemson game. The only real competition on the schedule for Miami before they line up against Clemson is maybe a last year 5-7 Texas A&M team that, by the way, has hemorrhaged talent, right? It's one thing to have NIL money. It's another thing to try to sell a guy on. You can make NIL money, but you got to go 5-7 to do it. They've lost a lot of talent out of Aggie land. So I don't think that's the same A&M team that a lot of folks thought they were going to be last year and going into this year. Florida State has the LSU game that could beat them up, but they got a couple of weeks after that. Clemson doesn't really have any big names on the docket before the FSU game either. Miami, however, it is off the bye week for Clemson, so that's the good news. But you got to go down to Coral Gables, and you got to go down to Coral Gables to take on a Miami team that is trying to prove that the first year under Mario Cristobal was a transition year, not what we can expect out of the Canes moving forward. The big red circles for me, aside FSU, are Notre Dame and then taking on South Carolina the week after UNC. UNC is not a powerhouse, all right? They look better this year under Drake May, but they are not a powerhouse yet. I do think they'll be better this year. So catching a Tech team that Clemson beat the hell out of last year, yes, but it was very early in the season, remember? Catching Tech, who kind of throws you out of your normal rhythm, right? Because of their wonky offense, even without Jeff Sims there, you're not going to be able to spend time practicing your base O&D. You're going to have to practice to beat Georgia Tech. Then you got North Carolina team the next week. Then you're at South Carolina. So I think FSU is interesting. I think at Miami followed by Notre Dame is interesting. And then I think Tech, UNC, South Carolina all in a row is interesting, especially having to go to the Cola. The good news is, as we mentioned, Georgia Tech and North Carolina are both at home before you head to USC to wrap up the season. That's kind of the direction that I'm looking at right now. Clemson's an 11-win football team next year, all right? The only question is, can they get 12? The trip-ups are FSU, Notre Dame, South Carolina. Those are the 3 teams that could trip up Clemson. I think if they win 2 of those, out of those 3, you end as an 11-win football team, and you are in the mix for the playoffs, but you'll need some help. You win all 3 of those, you're undefeated, you're going back to the playoffs. You got the ACC title game thrown in there as well. Without divisions, you are going to catch the second-best team in the ACC. I do suspect that will be a second crack at FSU. You may have to beat them twice, but we'll find out. Let's take a break. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back here in just a few minutes, Shane Beamer is the head coach of the University of South Carolina Gamecock football program. They have recently hired their new offensive coordinator in Dow Loggins. We'll ask about that. They obviously have been putting in work when it comes to in-state recruiting. We'll talk about that. Nicholas Harbor, the entire staff went and had a last visit with Nicholas Harbor last week, waiting to see if that 5-star might sign on the dotted line for the Gamecocks tomorrow. We'll ask how the last visit went and a couple of other questions for Shane Beamer. Head coach of the Gamecocks joins us next on the show. My name is Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo's on the board. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to The Fan Upstate. All right, guys, give us a couple of minutes while we get Coach Beamer lined up, and we will be right back with that interview. Do not go anywhere.
From the Angels Market Studio,
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages, welcome in. Glad to have you. And now we are very pleased and honored to welcome in the head coach of the University of South Carolina football team, Shane Beamer, joins us here on the Rob Brown Show. Coach, we appreciate it, man. Great to have you on the show, big dog.
Great to be on. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. I know you guys are wild busy as we get ready for signing day, making some trips. How's everything going on that front?
Everything's been good. Busy month of January for sure. Trying to solidify our roster as we go into spring practice and then finish up on the road recruiting. We've been gone traveling for the last 2.5 weeks and finally off the road this week and doing everything by phone and a lot happening leading into tomorrow with signing day, and then certainly our current team as well. It's great to be back in Columbia and be able to be fully, immersed with those guys also.
Love to hear it, Coach. And obviously, listen, I don't want the inside info, not asking to twist any arms, but I've only been asked, and I'm sure you have to, about 1,000 times about your conversations with one of the big names we're still waiting to fall, Nicholas Harbor. Seems to me like you guys have had some great conversations with him and other guys that we're starting to see you really make roads with outside of the region, outside of the upstate, outside of South Carolina. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you guys have really seemed to gain some momentum in terms of expanding what has traditionally been South Carolina's recruitment front?
Yeah, we certainly want to start always in the state of South Carolina, and we did a great job of that in the class of 2023 with, great players from the state of South Carolina. Guys like Marquis Anderson from there in the upstate was a huge pickup for us, and so thankful that he's part of our program. And then as the start that we're off to right now with the class of 2024 in the state of South Carolina is couldn't be better than what it is right now. So we're always going to start here, but we also have an unbelievable university to sell here to recruit to from an academic standpoint. The city of Columbia is phenomenal, and the opportunity to play SEC football is a huge thing as well for so many young men. So we've got a lot of great things going on here at Carolina, which make us attractive to a lot of players. And we typically will still go into areas that have always been strong for South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, but we've branched out into the Northeast a little bit more. And frankly, there's a lot of, students here at the University of South Carolina from the Northeast, that part of the country. For kids that want to play SEC football, we're the closest SEC school to them. It's an easy ride down Interstate 95. And so many of these young men grew up, driving through Columbia on their way to Florida or Hilton Head or wherever in the summertime for vacations. So there's a lot of natural ties, and we've been able to capitalize on that, and we'll continue to as well.
Coach, we've had a lot of discussions on this show and other shows about the transfer portal. I'm curious, how does it change your approach to recruiting? Does it change how you vet prospective players, knowing that the transfer portal is always a possibility?
It certainly starts in recruiting for us, making sure that we're recruiting, great young men into our program that come from, great families and that are about the right stuff and are choosing South Carolina for the right reasons and not anything beyond the opportunity to play SEC football, get a great education, and be a part of a really, really special culture. That's what the guys that we're looking for, guys that love football and love to compete and want to be a part of that. And but certainly the transfer portal is a factor right now. There's no question about it. And every school is impacted by it, by whether it be bringing players in or like we have, or losing some to the portal like we have as well. But the thing that we do is we try and start, like I said, start in recruiting with the type of people we're bringing into our program, continue to be the same people once they get here that we were in recruiting. Don't make false promises in recruiting. That's going to come back and hurt you once they get to your program. What you see with us is what you get, and that's honesty. And then once guys get in here, we try and make it a great experience for them. And if somebody feels like this isn't the place for them and they have an opportunity elsewhere, then, wish them well and move on. But, we got a lot of great young men in our program, but it has changed it in the sense that it is a factor. And then you also realize that, every year you're probably going to lose some guys to the portal, and the portal is now available that, if you have an immediate need that you need some maturity and experience at immediately, the portal gives you an avenue to, try and take advantage of that a little bit quicker.
Coach Shane Beamer, head coach of the University of South Carolina football team here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. And Coach, I think kind of what you were alluding to there for just a second was culture. And one of the things that I have been very impressed by your time in Columbia has been developing the culture of the Gamecocks, instilling your vision of the culture in South Carolina. It has got the fans whipped up, at least here in the upstate. We've obviously seen players starting to buy in, and obviously I think your attitude kind of reflects in that. How important has it been for you to kind of instill your own vision of this culture, to grow the Gamecocks' excitement about that culture, about the program? And do you think that your success this season, especially late, is kind of a direct result of that?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a direct result of the way that we've come together as a team. And it's harder and harder to do nowadays just because your roster turns over so much every single year. And you just brought in, a high school signing class. Now it's a high school signing class and, quite a few transfers, some more than others, depending on the school. So it's a challenge every year because you're starting over in a lot of ways with a lot of new faces. I love that part of the job, trying to build the culture, but certainly the success that we've had the last 2 seasons and the success that we had down the stretch is a testament to the people in this program, the love and the care that they have for one another. We don't play like we do against Florida and then come back and do what we did against Tennessee and Clemson if we don't have something special going on in this program, and that's the people that we have in this program. So we take a lot of pride in that, and for us, it's just one, I love coaching here. I love where I'm at. I'm passionate about this state. I'm passionate about this university and this city, and I'm passionate about being a Gamecock. And I think that it's not a job for me. And I think that shows in how we do things here in this program. And it's a program that we work really, really hard. We hold these guys accountable. It's very demanding, but we also want to make sure there's a lot of joy within this program as well. And I think you're seeing that.
Talk to me, Coach, a little bit. I remember back in the season, there was a little bit of a dust-up with another SEC coach who talked about the dancing and the glasses, but that, to me, has been something that genuinely shined about you and your time at South Carolina, the social media videos that have come out and all that. And it seems to be something that players both on your team and potential recruits have really attached themselves to and come to love about you. Just that loose goose, having fun, but also taking football seriously. Where does that come from?
All right, hold on a second. You stole my question. Because I can't dance and Shane Beamer can dance, and I've seen it, and I wanted to ask him, how much does he charge an hour for choreography? Because I need some.
Stick with that question and ask Coach, where did you pick up the moves?
Well, y'all are kind. I can't dance, but you guys are kind to say that. You're the first person that's ever told me that I could, so thank you. I appreciate that. But no, I think with me, it's what you see is what you get. I'm going to be me. I think sometimes you see guys become head coaches, particularly at a level like this, and there's a certain way that they feel like they have to act, and they're one way in front of the cameras, and they're another way behind the cameras. And I'm me. If we're successful, it's going to be because of that, and if we're not successful, it's going to be because of that. I'm not going to try and change who I am, but I think it goes back to, we talk a lot about joy and positive energy, and that's me. This is a high pressure, volatile profession that I chose. It's highly demanding. I get it. If we don't win football games and graduate players, I get fired. I realize that, but I also realize how extremely blessed I am to be in this position and the opportunity that I have here at Carolina. So I'm going to have a whole lot of fun doing it as well. And we've got an amazing social media department that, has some great ideas and does things like that. And you're right. I'll probably, we want to try and sell our program and market our program. And I've probably been even surprised a little bit more, to be honest with you, the impact that it has on prospects. I mean, we had an unbelievable group of prospects on our campus 2 Saturdays ago, and so many of them just came up to me and they had like their screensaver, or they had a photo saved of me dancing in the locker room after Kentucky, or the Soulja Boy dance this past summer and things like that. You know, they had that on their phones. And even back in July when the Soulja Boy thing went out, you know, that thing posted on social media, and within 10 minutes, I probably had 20 plus text messages from recruits. And, you know, my kids like it. And if recruits like it, that's a good thing too. So it's just me being me. And you know, some people love it, some people don't, but you know, I'm gonna try and do things the right way and have a lot of fun while I do it too.
All right. I got one more follow-up because I can't be completely serious, but I'm curious about this. Do you buy your own sunglasses or are they provided to you?
They were provided. I do not have a pair of those sunglasses. Somebody gave them to me for the Soulja Boy video, and then somebody gave them to me to wear after the Kentucky game. So they were not mine. I think my kids took them. I think one of my daughters has them right now in her room, but they were not mine. No.
I was gonna say that'd have been a hell of a trip to the Sunglass Hut with Coach Beamer.
Yeah.
Shane Beamer, head coach of the South Carolina Gamecock football program, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Let's talk for just a second, Coach, if you don't mind, about your new offensive coordinator, Dow Loggins. This is a hire, obviously, that you have called a number of times. This was your guy. This is the guy. Can you talk to us a little bit about what stood out about Dow Loggins that made him your guy? And I know he kind of runs that pro-style offense. What was it that attracted that offense, or attracted you to that offense? And how do you think it fits with both the players you have on campus already and the ones that you were trying to bring in? Has switching that offense from SAT to Loggins changed the type of players you're looking at in the recruiting process?
That part first. No, not really. I mean, we're still looking for the same type guys, and you know, going back to, well, first of all, with us offensively, you know, we've done some good things offensively the last couple of years, but we've been way too inconsistent. We've turned the ball over way too many times. I mean, 2 straight years we've turned the ball over more than any team in the SEC, and that starts with me. But that's absolutely ridiculous to do 2 years in a row. So we've got to protect the ball better, and we've got to be more consistent game in, game out. We're not going to score 40 points every single game, but there's just got to be a consistency that we've got to be better at. And that starts with me as the head coach. And then in regards to Dow, he's somebody that I've known for a long time. I first met him when I was here as an assistant coach at South Carolina, and he was coaching with the Tennessee Titans, and have got to know him on a personal level and have visited him with different NFL teams and watched him coach and know what kind of person he is and what he's about. He's been around some fantastic coaches. He's been around, you know, different types of quarterbacks at different levels in their career, whether it be rookies or whether it be veterans. And so many of those guys spoke highly of him. And I knew what a critical hire this was. So, I mean, I talked to a lot of people, players that he coached, like Alshon Jeffrey and Connor Shaw, and then you know, coaches that he's coached with, and so many things came back that were positive about him. And then the thing that I like is like I said, he's been around different types of quarterbacks in the NFL. He's been around different systems in the NFL, but then he's able to take what he saw in the NFL that was good, but then he's had 2 years at Arkansas in more of a college type RPO type offense. And, you know, I think that's great when you're a pro coach that goes to the college level. You see that sometimes these NFL coaches can overthink things and do too much. And it gets down to players, and the NFL is a matchup game. So I love the fact that he's able to take his time in the NFL and the systems he's been a part of, which is all about matchups, and marry that with what they've done at Arkansas the last 2 seasons as well. So excited about that part of it. I've said it before. He had other SEC schools that were interested in him, that were talking to him at the same time I was. So I'm fortunate that he chose to come to South Carolina. It was important for me to get somebody in here that had a history of working with quarterbacks, because certainly Spencer Rattler had a decision to make, and the hire for Dow wasn't just about this season; it's about long term. But you know, I'm also not naive. I wanted Spencer Rattler to come back as our quarterback, and he needed to feel good about this. And and he did and does. And then since Dow's been here, he's been fantastic. From a recruiting standpoint, he has been unbelievable. I think you're seeing that already, the impact he's had on the recruiting trail, and then with our players as well. I mean, we hired Dow, and Juice Wells and Spencer and some other guys still had decisions to make, and they chose to stay. And it wasn't all because of Dow Loggins, but he had a lot to do with that too.
Shane Beamer is the head coach of the University of South Carolina Gamecock football program, coming off of his second year in charge of that program, an overall 8-5 season with huge wins over Tennessee and Clemson at the end of the year. Coach, man, it has been an absolute honor and privilege to have you on. I appreciate it. And hopefully, if you'll allow us, we'll get you back on maybe close to the spring game and run it back.
Yep, we'd love to. Appreciate you guys having me on, and hope all of you have a great week.
Fantastic, Coach. Thank you very much. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Shane Beamer, head coach of the University of South Carolina Gamecock football program. There was actually, Zoe, only one question I did not get because he had to get on the road, finish up recruiting before signing day tomorrow. And he kind of answered it in the middle there, but I wanted to expand on it, which was the relationship between coaching staff, administration, and that social media team. Because you heard him say in the middle, he's like, look, the social media team takes that stuff, they turn it into content. That content gets the attention of recruits, etc. So we'll get Shane Beamer back on maybe closer to the spring game, get a chance to run that by him, especially after we get a look at the roster that develops as we head closer to that. Good interview.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find another choreographer, man. I thought I had it. Thought I was going to get him on the air to say, yes, he would teach me.
Shane Beamer, Gamecock football coach, and hell of a dance instructor. Good stuff. Appreciate Shane. Appreciate Steve Fink over in the SID office for helping us set that up. And we'll get Shane-O back on closer to the spring game. Let's take a break. We'll come back for hour number 2 after this on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Those of y'all on the stream, especially newbies, feel free to stick around, man. We're going to talk a little bit more about that interview coming out of the break. We got some more college football talk later on the show. We'll get into some other stuff as well. So I see the numbers are pumped. Those of you that are new here, if you enjoyed it, stick around, man. We have a lot of fun on this show, and we are glad to have all of you. Thanks for coming by.
Sorry, Steven, no hot dog question because, you know.
We had it. Listen, as I've told you in the past, if we know we're going to get a guy multiple times, right? Like now that I know Shane's willing to come back on spring game, talk to us a little bit. Next time we get him on, we'll get the hot dog question. We had effectively, 15 minutes with Shane Beamer there?
A little more than that. And and his answers are awesome and they're lengthy. And so you only have so much time. It's better than having someone you ask them a question and they're like, give you a 3-word answer. That was a great interview. I really enjoyed the entire thing.
I think that I will take a coach. I prepared like 14 questions for that interview. I will take a coach who gives me good answers and only lets me get 4 questions in over a guy who gives me 6, 7, 8-word answers and I get all 14.
See, I had a feeling that's why I only had 2 questions prepared and Rob tried to steal one of them. So, you know. Daggum thief. Although, if we talked ahead of time, that probably would have helped.
It probably would have, but
it takes away from the spontaneity.
The hot dog question hasn't gone anywhere, Keegan. All right. We have asked almost everybody we've interviewed. We've asked the hot dog question. Like I said, it's tough to, and I'll pull back the curtain. Now, I will also tell you this for those of you watching the stream. When I talked with the SID's office at South Carolina, they were going to try to work out having Coach on a stream with us. But with us bumping right up against National Signing Day, which is tomorrow, as you heard Coach saying there, they're going to be working the phones hard today to talk to those recruits, try to swing them over last minute. They've been on the road up until the last couple of days ago, et cetera, et cetera. And the fact that we only got one segment, they didn't have time to put him on a stream because in fact, he was getting back on the road. They literally told me when he hung up at 10 o'clock today, he was right back on it, getting on the road again. So with that being said, my conversation with the SID's office leads me to believe that hopefully maybe coming up in maybe the spring, maybe around the spring game, maybe just after it, we'll actually be able to line up a little bit longer discussion with Shane Beamer and get it done on the stream. And if we do that, pinky promise I'll hit him with a hot dog question since the numbers are pumped. For those of you that don't know, I was stunned when I moved here to learn that a hot dog in the upstate comes with chili, onions, and mustard, right? Because everywhere,
It's a chili dog.
everywhere else,
It's a chili dog, man.
that's a chili dog.
It's a chili
right?
dog.
If I go back down to Florida, over to Louisiana, out to California, if I want a hot dog with chili on it, I have to ask for a chili dog with onions and mustard. But I have been told numerous times that around this area, if you order a hot dog, it comes with chili, onions, and mustard. That is just the generic hot dog here. And so every interview I've done with Gamecock players, with Clemson players, with Gamecock coaches, with Clemson coaches, with media members, with folks from out of markets, I love to ask them, what's a default hot dog to you, right? Like if you order a hot dog from a restaurant, what do you expect to come on it? And the only people who say chili as the default option are people that are from the upstate of South Carolina. And I do that to prove a point that it's a chili dog.
I guess, Keegan, if you consider the station starting when we switched to the Fan, possibly, but over the years we've had Don Staley on, we've had some other active head coaches on. Not in our current lineup though, that I'm aware of.
Our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show starts now. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Brown. That's Lonzo. We are exceptionally glad to have you here on the broadcast with us today. If you'd like to be a part of the show, 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. You can text us on the text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. Those of you that are listening for the first time because you tuned in to check out the Beamer interview, show's highly interactive. I want your text. I want you on the live stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate or by searching and subscribing to The Rob Brown Show on YouTube or Twitch. I want your tweets at The Rob Brown Show or at Lonzo on Word. And I want your phone calls at 844-326-3663.
I just need to address something really quick, and then I'll let it go. I'm getting texts, people asking, how did you get Shane Beamer on? Well, contrary to other people's opinions who say you can't do that, Rob just called and asked. That's how it's that simple.
Sir,
he went through the SID and went through the
and asked respectfully and politely.
Right. So
there's a key.
Other places you will hear that they require respect and all this kind of stuff. No, this is our job is to go out and get things, not for things to come to us. So if you believe the hype from other places, you need to stop doing that because it's as simple as Rob calling and asking to have him on.
I mean, okay, in fairness, we had to make a couple of arrangements. It wasn't just
of course.
Can I get Shane? Yeah. But I was glad to do it, and I was very much appreciative of Shane taking the time to come on the show, and we'll get him back on again soon. Like I said, probably around the spring game, once we get the rosters locked in, once we see what this team looks like out on the field in spring camp, and then into the spring game, we'll run it back with Shane and have a little bit more in-depth discussion. That was kind of interesting for me in that was obviously Shane's debut on the Fan Upstate, and we are very appreciative of Steve Fink over in the SID's office, of Coach Beamer for taking the time to talk to us as well. Obviously, a lot of you know about the drama. Didn't matter. Asked to have him on. They were like, absolutely, we'll get you. And appreciate Shane being, listen, he's a football coach. And he's got some stuff he's got to say. But I also think, like, for instance, when we asked him about Dow Loggins and what made Dow your guy, right? Like you've said, Dow was that guy and he was the target all along. Why? What made him that guy? For him to get into that discussion and to talk about there's a lot of coaches that are going to give you, right? Like pro style offense. And I just felt like it fit what we're doing here. But for him to talk about what I think has been the cornerstone of what Shane Beamer has been doing, which is culture building, right? Culture building. I said that when Shane got hired. I will be the first to admit that at the time of the hiring, I didn't love it, right? I didn't love it. But Shane Beamer has flipped Rob Brown 180, and now I love the hire, not because of the X's and O's side of it. And I do think that's continuing to get better. What I loved about the hire of Shane Beamer was the culture building that he has started. It started when he arrived on campus. And listen, that doesn't always translate to success, right? I've told you guys, those of you that have followed for any length of time, I know we got a bunch of noobs joining the show right now. We're glad to have you. I was down in Destin, Florida, which is about an hour and 45 minutes to the west of Tallahassee, when Florida State hired Willie Taggart to be their new head coach. Willie Taggart had his success down in Central Florida, went up to Oregon, obviously. And when Florida State hired this guy, and Willie Taggart showed up on campus, it felt like Florida State fans believed that there was a transition in play, right? Like it felt like Florida State fans were all in on Willie Taggart. And the reason why was Taggart showed up. He got out of the limo doing the chop, right? He was all bought in. He was showing off the picture of him as a kid wearing FSU gear. It felt like Willie Taggart was really immersed in rebuilding the culture of a Florida State team that had been struggling mightily after the departure of Jimbo Fisher to go to Texas A&M. And so Willie came in, and it felt like culture was being built there. The players were buying in. And I will never forget the first game. I was at the game that Willie Taggart was in charge of Florida State on a football field. It was a Labor Day game against Miami. It was in Tallahassee. FSU came out. The team was standing, getting set for the kickoff, doing the swag surf. The crowd was into it. It felt like a very special moment in Tallahassee. And then what happened? Florida State beat the hell out of Miami. Other way around. Miami beat the hell out of Florida State. They wrecked Florida State in that game, and FSU genuinely never recovered from that until maybe this past season. Up for debate, we'll find out, but they never recovered. It is one thing, and I brought it up subtly because I'm a professional, but we brought up Mark Stoops' comments towards Shane Beamer, well, thinly veiled comments towards Shane Beamer, back during the week of South Carolina, Kentucky, right? When Mark Stoops said, there's a difference between culture and climate change, right? He said climate change is putting on the fun glasses, which, by the way, bravo on bringing up the glasses. I'm glad you did that because I was not going to.
You're welcome.
Phenomenal. Completely forgot to ask about the glasses.
The best part about that is he was serious on everything. But when we went,
gotta laugh about
when
that.
we went for the fun, he also went for the fun.
Yeah.
So I think when you see Beamer having fun, he legitimately is out there having fun. And you know what? He should. Just like we have fun at this job, because it's a fun job. Coaching football is a fun job.
When Shane puts
it's okay to have fun.
Yeah, 100%. We say that all the time, right? And I think that is something that's attractive to players. I think that's why you're seeing South Carolina's recruiting getting better by the year under Shane Beamer. I asked him in that interview, how are you growing? Because obviously the momentum is there, but how are you growing the out-of-state, out-of-region recruiting, and how important is that? And he said it's huge, right? And part of the reason that South Carolina is getting the attention outside of the area that, let's be honest, they have not had in a while is because of the fact that culture, where it's okay to have fun but still take football seriously on a Saturday, is attractive to kids, right? It's attractive. So I brought up the comments of Mark Stoops during the season from Kentucky about how Shane's more involved in climate change than culture change by putting on the sunglasses and doing the funny dances in the locker room. And we talked earlier about the consequences of smack talk, right? With Mayor Jabroni having his name etched as Mayor Jabroni forever in the halls of the U.S. Congress. Mark Stoops learned that there is a punishment for smack talk when you don't back it up, right? Because after that game was over, and Shano mentioned it in that interview, after that game was over, he's in the locker room. Somebody handed him a pair of the fun glasses, and he started to hit the Dougie in the locker room, and the team lost its bleeping mind around him. And if you don't think that there were some kids that were sophomores that were juniors in high school that didn't see that video circulating on the old interwebs and go, damn, that kind of looks fun. That kind of looks like a good time, and get swayed. I'm not saying ultimately signed, but get swayed to South Carolina because of it. I don't know what to say to you, but it is a new generation of player, right? You don't have to like it, but you do have to learn to respect it. The next generation of player is not this blue-collar lunch pail, it's all serious, right? Live, eat, sleep, breathe, die football. The new breed of player realizes that football is a part of your life. It's not all of your life, right? It can be a huge part of it, but it's a part of your life, and you still got to have fun and be a human being away from it. And, you know, listen, and before somebody hits me with, yeah, Rob, Mamba mentality. I understand that. But you understand the reason the Mamba mentality is so damn special is because the number of people who have it is exceptionally small, right? The number of people who go, this is the thing I do, and therefore it's the only thing I do, is exceptionally small. That's what made Kobe. That's what made Mike, right? Most people have to have a little fun in their life. And so for Shano to go, yeah, I don't know where the hell the glasses came from, but I'm going to put them on and crank that Soulja Boy in the locker room. If you're a 16-year-old kid who's looking at where you want to go play ball, and you got Nick Saban. You got Nick Saban over here. And you got this guy hitting the two-step in the locker room, right? Putting on the funny glasses, making the hilarious social
more than
media
a
videos.
Two-step, man. I just
There's a hip hop dance called the two-step.
Is there?
It's not just the
Okay.
country. Come on down to South Carolina, be a Gamecock today. It's not always that.
Look, dude, I'm a grandpa.
And by the way,
that's
from a guy who two-steps. All right,
yes, he has a cowboy hat and everything.
secret cowboy rock.
That's amazing.
Anyway, the point is that works, right? That is not climate change. That is the definition of culture change. Lonzo, I was not here. What would you, if I asked you in 10 words or less to describe the culture of South Carolina when Will Muschamp was in charge, what would your answer be?
Wait, I haven't reached my limit yet.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure how.
I don't know how that. I don't know how many snores translates to 10 words.
I don't know either, but I think you get it.
I think we got the point. It ain't that under Beamer, man. The fans are excited. The boosters are excited. The players are quite obviously. So listen, if Spence didn't love being in Columbia, Spence would be in the draft right now. Because while some people will disagree, I will tell you Spence would have been a 4th to 6th round draft pick. All right. We talked yesterday on the show about how damn much the NFL is quarterback driven, to the point that Anthony Richardson from Florida is going to, I'm saying this as a statement of fact, is going to be drafted inside the top 10. Why? Because the NFL is quarterback driven. You got to have that guy. Spencer Rattler would have been worth the roll of the dice just to see. Teams are going to start gambling with draft picks on quarterbacks to see if they can land a 6th round Brady, a Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, a guy that can step in and do stuff and become a surprise superstar. And I think Spence would have been in that group. He came back because Dowell Loggins is going to run a pro-style offense so he can get set and ready to run that type of offense at the next level. And because I think he probably, especially late in the year, with the wins over Tennessee, with the win over Clemson, looked around and went, damn, this is kind of fun. Kind of enjoying this. Kind of having a good time here in the Cola. Let's run it back. Let's do it again. right? Let's get right. Let's run it back in a pro-style offense. Let's make that run again. Let's go improve on 8, right? Let's go get 9. And again, how many times? Missouri should have been a win. Florida should have been a win. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a 10-win football season, right? Missouri, no question, should have been a win. I would think Shane Beamer would agree with that. Florida, should have been a win. Or at least not the butt whooping that it was at the hand of the Gators. But you take back those two. Those are 2 games you should have won. Now you're sitting at 10-2. So you've got the recruits in state. You've got the recruits paying attention to you now out of state. You won 2 games you weren't supposed to. If you win the ones you are supposed to and win 1 or 2 of the ones you're not, that's a 10-11 win team right there, right? That's how close they were and getting better. And I think you heard it out of Shane right there when he talked about the fact that it is about making sure, and this is the part I wonder if it caught Lonzo's attention when he asked about it. I thought a great question, how transfer portal directly interacts with recruiting. And Shane said, look, it is now more important than ever. It is now more important than ever, not just to find good football players, but to find guys that come to South Carolina, quote, for the right reasons, end quote.
Yes, I was paying attention.
Well, I was talking more to them.
Oh, okay. You asked if I caught it. I definitely caught it.
Well,
It was
what I should have said was, did it perk your ears the way it did mine? Did you catch that and go,
that was
yeah, I got that?
That was the answer I was hoping I would get. And so this is the first coach I've ever been able to ask that question since you and I have these arguments about NIL and the portal all the time. And I've maintained it's got to be a little more difficult for a coach when they go out there recruiting to figure, because again, you don't know if a year from now they're going to go, you know what, I don't like it here, I'm out.
Yeah. And that's what I said when this whole thing kicked up, right? When people started saying, oh, guys are going to leave, right? They don't get the playing time they want. They're going to leave. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you, right? First off, we all leave for better jobs if we get the opportunity. Every one of us except Lonzo has left for a better job opportunity at some point in our careers.
I kind of like it here.
Yeah, no, I know, because this is the best job opportunity, right?
Yeah. Oh, so now this is the best job opportunity. So you're saying that there's no job that I could have got a better job. That's what by the way, this job changes every 3 or 4 years. We get like entirely new crews here.
For the record, I'm 2 months away from 3 years. So R.I.P. the Rob Brown Show, I guess.
So I'm just saying I started a new job several times in my 23 years here.
So I think that Shane's answer was great.
Listen up, Jabroni.
Mayor Jabroni. I think Shane's answer was great, right? He said you got to recruit guys that want to come to South Carolina for the right reasons. It's not just football. And this is what I have been saying to you guys since the beginning of the discussion about the portal. It is going to change the way coaches talk to kids. You can't just say, come on down, be a Gamecock. You're going to be a great one. It's like, hey, you might not be, right? The PT might not be there. So we want to make sure that you're coming here because the school matches up for you. The classes match up for you. We want to come here because the culture matches up to you. Even if you don't play, you're going to love your life in Columbia. And if you don't, that's cool. Go somewhere you will, right? And I think Shane pretty much hit on that. So anyway, phenomenal interview with Shane Beamer. We appreciate it. Here's a couple of text responses that have come in so far. Texter says, hey, Rob and Lonzo, I listen every day while driving for work. I was out of the truck for work while the Beamer interview took place. Did you directly ask him if he had interest in the TCU OC? Reason I ask is I heard on another show that his source about SC actually wanting the OC came from inside South Carolina. It makes sense why they would be interested in him as a Bears fan. I've seen Dow Loggins work as an offensive as an OC while he was with the Bears, and he stinks. He couldn't make it in the NFL, and he's probably a tight ends coach because no one wanted to give him a shot as an OC at the college level. Can't convince me he was your first and only choice. That's from Ron.
Wow, what a long text. I will say there's a thing called low-hanging fruit. I don't know if you've heard about that before. And we wanted to ask some legitimate questions.
Well, I will go one step further than that. Okay. That question has already been answered by Shane Beamer. You all saw the answer from Shane Beamer. If I ask him directly, do you think his answer is going to be any different than the answer that he has literally already given? That's
right,
part
right.
one.
Because if you ask him again, what you're saying is you didn't believe he was
Right.
truthful the first
Right.
time, and I saw it. Like, okay, move on.
He has already answered that question. He's already answered that question to this station. You all know what we're talking about. So I saw no reason to ask him that question. Now, what I did ask him was, what made Dowell Loggins your guy, right? I want him to have the opportunity to gloss and floss on Dowell Loggins. I wanted him to have the opportunity to say, because hey, was he your first? Like, he already said yes. So I'm not going to ask him that question. I'm not going to disrespect him by saying, hey, your answer wasn't good enough the first time, so hit me with it again. Instead, I gave him the chance to gloss and floss on his new guy, and he did that. And he said, look, there were multiple SEC teams looking at this guy to promote him. I understand, and let's call a spade, Dowell Loggins was not a good offensive coordinator at the National Football League level, right? Hey, Nick Saban was not a good head coach at the NFL level. Good thing Alabama decided to take a run on that guy anyway, right?
Wow, how could they do such a thing?
Yeah. Steve Spurrier was not a good head coach at the NFL level. How'd that work out for South Carolina, giving him a second run?
Worked out pretty good for a while.
Pretty good, right? Success and failure at the NFL level does not directly translate to success or failure at the collegiate level. Dow's going to run a pro-style offense. Shane Beamer has a pro-style quarterback and pro-style talent across the OL right now. It fit. He said he also went in and bought into the culture. And if you don't believe that, Dowell Loggins got hired, and what was the first thing he said? Spencer Rattler is the biggest recruit since my wife, right? And 2 weeks later, Spencer Rattler goes, run it back. Run it back one more time. I'd say it worked out just fine so far. Now, will he be a success or a failure at South Carolina? I don't know. What I also know, though, is that Shane Beamer had a lot of the same criticism thrown at him when he got to Columbia. He's never done it before. He's never been a head coach. He's never been a coordinator. We don't know enough about this guy. It's a nepotism hire. He's only been around because of his dad, yada, yada, yada. I'd say Shane Beamer put all that to bed, didn't he? I'd say Shane put that criticism to rest pretty quickly. I'm not saying Dowell Loggins is going to be a great OC. I'm saying I gave Shane the chance to floss on why he liked that guy. You've heard his answer. Now you get to decide. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. Got plenty more to talk about. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. All right. There you go. There's some afterthoughts on it.
Real quick, Trey, you know how you get credentials? You ask for them.
Respectfully.
That's how you do that. You send an email to the people that and they send you an email back with the passes. That's how that works. If you've heard it otherwise somewhere else, that's incorrect.
Grab me another drink. Be right back. Don't go anywhere, newbies.
I'll do it. I gotta take it down for a second. I'm sorry. My nerves are just. I gotta go calm my heart down.
I've got the vapors.
All right, I'm gonna eat my second meal. That's what I'm gonna do.
Lonzo won't eat on the stream. How about that signage? Be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
For the ones finding new ways
All right, dudes and dudettes, we are back. I'm going to get this banner in the right position at some point.
Just leave it alone.
No, Lonzo.
It's fine.
Look good, play good, win good. That's the rules. If you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. If you play good, you win. That's how it goes.
They have medication for what's wrong with you.
It's a cream, a topical agent.
Apply liberally.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
Any tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, here's my card. And most of us.
Oh, also,
Credit cards charge
cross your fingers on this one because this one's going to be a little more tricky to get. But we may have Frank Reich in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome.
That one's not as sure yet.
You remember when you came back from that one game and won? That was pretty cool.
That was awesome. Chris Farley, the GOAT, RIP.
My hero.
Farley was the best. Yeah, I got the white glasses back. The white glasses got broke, so I had to order another pair. They just came back.
His watch also matches the glasses. Just saying.
Hashtag accessorize, people. Make yourself look good and you will feel good. I woke up this morning, took a fresh hot shower, did the hair, threw on the accessories to match. Yes, indeed. Look good, feel good.
Don't
feel good,
don't
play
say
good.
that. He's not a Superman fan.
Play good. Well, good. That is not true. I am a Superman fan. I'm just saying Superman is kind of a cheat code to writing a comic book.
You don't believe in truth and justice or the American way.
Yes, I do. I'm a Dusty Rhodes fan. Dusty Rhodes is the American way, the American dream. Dusty Rhodes. And for those of you that are new, if you're also wrestling fans, stick around because I got to tell you, Lonzo, I don't know if I can wait till Thursday to talk Royal Rumble. Because Thursday we got to talk SmackDown.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
we're
SmackDown
going to be
Friday
going to SmackDown Friday.
Yeah, so I think we might talk Royal Rumble. Here's my question, and I sincerely say this. It is a question I direct at Lonzo. Do we run that interview back in the last hour? Or do we run it back again tomorrow? Or do we run it back at all and just say, if you want to listen to it, go download it?
It's a question that needs to be answered later, like after the segment.
Fair enough. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob. He is Lonzo. Thanks again to Steve Fink. Thanks to Shane Beamer and the staff over at USC for getting Coach on the air, making his Fan Upstate a debut with us today. We were glad to have him. Solid interview. If you missed it, we might run it again in the third hour. And we either might run it again in the third hour, but we will definitely have it posted on the podcast coming up shortly. Actually, is that hour up already?
Yeah, the hour's already up.
So if you missed that interview with Shane Beamer, go download the first hour of the show. Go to thefanupstate.com. Center of the page, there's a podcast button. Click that button, drop it down to the Rob Brown Show, and download the first hour of today's show. The last segment of that hour is our interview with Shane Beamer. We may run it again in the last hour of the show. We will see. But I will also independently clip the interview out and get that posted for you after the show today.
Yeah, I was going to mention that sometime afternoon, just the interview will be posted.
Yeah.
Also, you forgot to mention, I don't know if you knew this or not. I'm sure you did, that we have a 4-pack of
Furman tickets.
Furman basketball tickets to give away between now and the end of the show. So make sure you stay tuned for that.
Yes, indeed. Family 4-pack of Furman tickets. They've got a doubleheader coming up this Saturday at the Well. They will be in downtown Greenville taking on Wofford. They have the women's game starting up first. Before that, they have a very, very interesting women in sports panel that if you have a young lady in your life who wants to be in this business, that being the sports industry, then this is a great, great opportunity to give her a little bit of inspiration, a little motivation, a little advice. That panel is going to happen right before the women's game. They'll go straight into the women's game. After the women's game is over, there will be about a 45 minute turnaround. And then the men's game will take place that evening at the Well. And coming up sometime, I would say in the next hour, we'll give away a family 4-pack of those Furman tickets for you on Saturday.
Also, I don't know if you knew, there's some words that you can't say on other stations that we can say here.
Like bleep and bleep.
No, not
bleep.
not those kind of words.
Oh, got it.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We can say Super Bowl here. Is that
Why
one
can
word?
we say that, Lonzo?
Is Super Bowl one word or
No,
is that two
it's
words?
distinctly two words.
Is it two words?
Is
Or
two words.
it hasn't become just one word?
Correct.
Uh,
Distinctly two words.
I don't think most people say Super Bowl. They say Super Bowl, which would
It's
imply
two
that it's
words.
one word. Anyway, you can hear that exclusively in the Upstate right here on the Fan.
Correct.
Nowhere else. So if you're one of those people, and I've been there, stuck working on a Sunday during the Super Bowl and have no outlet, put your earpiece in or however you want to do it with your phone, and you can check us out.
That's correct. If you're going to be out there hauling the big rigs or sitting in a
Because we also
cop
will be
car,
streaming it too.
we'll have it
so.
streamed, and we will have live play-by-play of Super Bowl 57, the Kelsey Bowl, for you right here on the Fan Upstate.
I also forgot to mention Go Chiefs. I forgot that.
Oh, yeah, there's also that. There's also that from Zoe. All right, a couple other things I wanted to get into. Again, if you missed it, that Shane Beamer interview will be posted. It is already posted at thefanupstate.com. Go to the podcast section, drop it down to the Rob Brown Show, download the first hour of the show, and I will have that posted for you independently later on this afternoon after our show comes to its conclusion. I will get that interview posted for you. So if you missed it, you can go back and check it out. Little bit of news that, yeah, dude, I hate salary cap discussions in the NFL. Do you know why? It's because the overwhelming majority of us, and I include myself in this with zero shame or embarrassment, the overwhelming majority of us don't know how the hell it works. I mean, you know what the cap is, right? Can't spend this amount of money, more than this amount of money on players on a contract year at any given point.
But you can do it. You get fined, right? If you do it.
No, there's no luxury tax in the NFL. That's an
Oh,
NBA MLB.
okay. All right. So we're
But
learning
what
something here.
But what you can do with the salary cap is you can structure contracts. You can give
So,
guys
signing
signing
bonus
bonuses,
and- yeah, okay,
or roster
all right.
bonuses, or incentive bonuses, et cetera, which is why I don't get into a fuss about roster cap, right? That being said, NFL GMs do, because they do have to put in the work to get everything structured and put together the right way. Good news for NFL GMs, the NFL salary cap rose to $224.8 million for this upcoming 2023 season. According to Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport, it will break the league record set in 2022. There is a $16.6 million increase, the biggest jump in a single year since 2006. That does not include the 2022 season, which saw a $25.7 million increase, but followed the first and only salary cap decrease due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It is the ninth time since 2006 that the cap went up by more than $10 million. That also adjusts the franchise tag numbers for players who might get stuck with that tag. Quarterbacks who are franchise tagged will be making $32.4 million this season. Running backs, just over 10 mil. Wide receivers, just under 20. Tight ends, just over 11. Offensive linemen who are this number, I don't know if this shocks me or not. It does. I think it does a little bit, especially with the emergence of tight end importance at the NFL level. Guys like Kelsey. Offensive linemen who are salary or who are franchise tag, Lonzo, will be making $18,244,000 this year. Tight ends, $11.345.
Get all you
$7 million
can.
more for an OL.
Get all you can, people.
It's listen, I know that a lot of teams don't go tight end heavy, don't go tight end on every formation, but a lot of the teams that do, Philly uses the tight end a lot. Obviously, Kansas City uses the tight end a lot. Vegas has utilized the tight end a lot. Cincinnati's used the tight end a lot, right? A lot of the teams that have success predominantly still work with a lot of tight end action within their offense, yet tight ends are about to get tagged for $7 million less than an offensive lineman. Now, offensive linemen, unless there's injury, traditionally play 100% of your team's offensive snaps. So I get it. But especially with guys like Pitts out of Atlanta, right? Especially with guys like Kelsey, especially with guys like, who else would I put into that group? Darren Waller is in that group.
Kittle.
George Kittle. Guys that are good blockers, but all of those guys we just mentioned are freaking weapons, dude, right? How many spots has Travis Kelce gotten Patrick Mahomes out of? Like most of them, right?
Absolutely. And if you look at Tom Brady throughout the years,
Gronk
was his guy. I mean,
Speaking of Gronk, I got some great audio from him coming up in a minute.
Oh, I can't wait for
I
that.
know.
I'm not saying it. You're waiting. I'm not doing it.
Gronk. Nice. Anyway, with the emergence of almost a tight end wide receiver hybrid, right? That was the thing with Darren Waller, was he wanted that new contract. He wanted wide receiver money. They wouldn't totally give it to him. They upped him a little bit.
Didn't this stuff start? Was it Jimmy Smith? I think it was, who was New Orleans tight end, wanted to be a receiver, wanted to be paid like a receiver.
Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said Jimmy Smith.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham wanted to be that's part of the reason he didn't stick around in New Orleans. In fact, he left New Orleans and learned very quickly that having an HOFer behind the line of scrimmage can make you look great, because he went to where? Chicago first. He went to the Bears for a minute, and those numbers were not the same. Then he went to Seattle, and they were a little bit better because Pete Carroll utilized the tight end more like Sean Payton did than they did during his time in Chicago. But I also think that kind of damaged, that's a great point. I think it kind of damaged it at the time, right? Because Jimmy Graham was putting up third wide receiver, second wide receiver numbers in New Orleans with Drew Brees. And then when he left, those numbers went down dramatically. But if you are an Andy Reid coached offense, right? A Pete Carroll coached offense that loves to incorporate the tight end, $11 million for a franchise tag, which is less than offensive linemen. It is less than defensive linemen, even defensive tackles. It is almost half of linebackers. It is less than cornerbacks. It is less than safeties. In fact, the only position whose franchise tag is lower than tight ends right now is kickers.
Yeah, but if you're a good enough tight end in the caliber of the guys we've been talking about, you don't have to worry about being franchised because you're going to get a good contract.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, let us run to our final break. When we come back here in just a minute, we wrap up the hour with absolutely what I love. Gronk audio. Gronk was on Jimmy Fallon's show, and Gronk gave the kids a little advice on how to be a better football player. I love it. Lonzo won't. You'll hear that audio when we come back. My name is Rob Brown, the great ones at the helm. You are listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to The Fan Upstate. Go ahead and get some coffee.
No.
Sure, you can play
All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us.
then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free.
You got any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, critiques you want to hit me with? Feel free to drop them in the comments or text them to 71307. Start your text with fan. We'll read them on the air. Forgot to put the banner up at the bottom. Whoops. Whoops.
So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job in ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Tired of getting dinged by monthly fees on your checking account? You need simple checking from HomePort Bank.
Corbin just did a shoot interview where he talked about why he stopped being bum-ass Corbin.
100%
He said it was because he was coming out to the ring and people were trying to hand him money. And people were stuffing money in his car at the end of shows. When they'd see him get in, they'd try to hand him money. He said, I was probably being offered upwards of $500 to $1,000 every single night, even at house shows, from people trying to offer me money. He said we had to cut it because of how much trouble we could have gotten in from that.
Yeah, because of taxes.
He said they had to turn me because I had too many fans who were trying to give me money. That is hilarious.
Join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the very least for my take on the biggest headlines. The conversations with the biggest names in entertainment. Subscribe now so you don't miss an episode. No Mercy with Stephen A. Smith. Presentation of Cadence 13 and Odyssey Speed. Full episodes available now on YouTube.
At Staples, you can count on every project being print perfect, guaranteed.
I need presentations and brochures printed, and they have to be perfect.
Your bounded presentations, brochures with the finest folds, and more will be done right every time.
Any expectations or any comments on what we'll see tomorrow on National Signing Day? We'll talk about that coming up probably in the next hour, Skrilla. I've got a couple of recruiting notes to run through, last minute recruiting notes. I will tell you that I am the name everybody obviously is keeping their eye on is Nicholas Harbert, the 5-star tight end / edge rusher / running back / athlete out of DC that South Carolina's been gunning for in a big way. I have seen 2 or 3 more recruiting experts give the old crystal ball prediction for Nicholas Harbert to South Carolina. That would round out probably Carolina's best recruiting class in a very long time. In a very long time. Obviously, Alonzo, I'm going to go to clip 3 in this segment. And I want you to know I listened to every piece of audio like 7 times today.
Okay. That's good to know.
Every pro is MVP to us. As a Lowe's MVP rewards member, you can earn bonus points when you shop select products and brands. Even for exciting rewards like tools, sports memorabilia, e-gift cards, and more. Join today to become a member and start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts and subject to program terms. While supplies last. Points expired every calendar year. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
My water just went up my nose. It's now coming out my nose.
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Screaming towards the end of our numero dos. Let's get to this. Rob freaking Gronkowski. Now, you know, I've said that there are a couple of guys in the sports broadcasting industry that I dislike a lot and a couple that I love. And I have found it to be that the guys that I love, Pat McAfee, Rob Gronkowski. I love them because they're just more successful versions of me, right? McAfee is quite literally, to a T, doing what I would do if you asked me to write down what my dream life looks like in a notebook, right? My dream life would be calling NFL games, calling college football games, hosting college game day, doing my own pod uncensored from a basketball gym that I bought, and also doing some side work on professional wrestling shows. Literally my dream, and I love Pat McAfee for it. I love Gronk because Gronk is exactly what I would have been if I got handed a few $100 million as a 21-year-old kid. Just living my best life. Throwing cruises where the theme is Rob. Brown, not Gronk, but basically baby Gronk. Anyway, Rob Gronkowski was on Jimmy Fallon last night. And Fallon asked Rob Gronkowski about his party lifestyle, so to speak. And this is what Gronk had to say about it. Gronk said the dancing, the partying, it all led to him being a better football player. Carrying his boys out of the club, lifting his guys up when they were passed out on the beds. It all made him a better football player. I got no problem with that. Gronk had fun, and if anybody has a problem with it, I think Gronk's multiple rings and the fact that the day Gronk decided to hang it up as both a Patriot and a Buccaneer, Gronk had every TV network in America gunning for him at the same time. I don't know, man.
You think he'll ever get good on TV? I mean,
I don't think he's bad on TV
I mean,
now.
he's not. He doesn't fit, man. He just doesn't on the shows that he's on, like pre-shows with all the the established guys. He just, when he's reading, you can tell he's reading. I always have a problem with that, and I just all right, I just don't like Gronk. I just don't.
I'm aware.
It may have something to do with his close affiliation with some guy named Tom Brady. Could have a lot to do with that. And it could be the fact that his mentality really bothers me. He's the guy in your group that you got to keep a close eye on because he's going to do something stupid that gets everybody in trouble. He's that guy in every group.
How many times has Gronk been in trouble?
Because he had good boys with him who took care of him.
Or maybe he just likes to party and have a good time and isn't a terrible person.
All right. Once again, I think you're taking offense and taking it a totally different direction than what I'm going with. There's a guy, you got your fighter in your group. You got your cautious guy in your group. Guess which one I was. You've got your guy in the group who just does stuff without thinking. Like, spraying a security guard at a bowling alley with silly string and then laughing the whole way as you get kicked out. That kind of stuff. Gronk is that guy. He's that guy. And on the way home, you're like, dude, man, you're going to get us all in jail or something. Like, nah, that's not going to happen. He's that guy. He's also, he's Gronk from Vox Machina.
Good reference. 5 points to Gryffindor. Yeah. Look, I think Gronk is a kid who didn't have to grow up.
Steven, he's probably smarter than me. I don't hate him because he's dumb. Because he's not dumb. I mean, he's on everything.
Yeah.
You can't be dumb and be on everything.
Gronk is great. Like I said, and here's the thing. You can go, oh, it's because you got a guy around him. Yeah, maybe so. But how many other
I'm sorry, I think I
NFL
said
players,
Steven. It was actually Keegan that said that. My bad.
how many other NFL players have had dudes around them and still got into trouble anyway? At least off the top of my head, I don't recall Gronk getting in trouble
but
yet.
all those guys who've gotten in trouble, they're leader types. Gronk is not a leader type. Gronk is that dude that just follows along.
Gronk's also one of the best 3 tight ends in the NFL in the past decade.
Probably so.
Yeah, I got no problem with it. Love Gronk
Look
All
at
right.
you. He's ready to fight over Gronk,
because that's my dog.
which I think is funny.
Gronk's my boy.
That's my dog, yo.
Gronk's
Don't you
my
come in
boy.
here?
The Robin Rob party cruise is going to be lit one day. Absolutely lit.
By the time that happens, lit will not be the word they use anymore.
Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I can name 2 guys, which I'm not, in the couple of different groups that I ran with growing up that were Gronk. And luckily, I was able to get it under control enough to not – and that bowling alley thing, that actually did happen because of the Gronk type in our group. And then I didn't get to finish my bowling, and I take that seriously. But, yeah, there's always a guy like that. And the couple of times that I didn't go, that's the guy that got everybody in trouble because he didn't have that – the cautious guy there, the guy who actually, thinks clearly or whatever it is I do. So where did you fit in your group, Rob?
I was always the goody. Hilariously enough, it took me till
Come on.
you had Scouts honor. I was always the goody. It took me till probably my 3rd, 4th year out of high school before I kind of been like, oh, I can party and have a good time and not be a terrible person. I was absolutely the goody in my group until my I'll say 2nd or 3rd year of college. That's when the wheels came. Nope, scratch that. The wheels never came off. That's when I decided to change the wheels.
Went for the chromed out big, yeah. Do some neon on there. You may be right, Kevin, but I prank back. When you're designated driver in every group that you're in, you have to learn how to round people up, know when it's too much and you need to get them out of there, and you get to drive all their cars. Yeah, he definitely has spinner hubcaps, Josh, for sure.
I remember those.
He had a replica John Cena spinner belt in the window of his El Camino.
So I'm getting hit on social media for asking softball questions.
Oh,
of Shane.
whatever. You knew that was
I
coming.
keep right, but I keep those comments fired back just on social media, right?
It's your show. But in order to address it, then you have to address.
Break my own rule.
Yes, you do. No, actually, none of that because they were very careful with me driving their cars. You give someone a wet willy while they're driving the car, they might swerve into oncoming traffic. You don't want that to happen. Plus, that's just nasty. Now, the Dookies, what the heck is that?
Swamp butt.
What, reaching your hand down?
Just swamp butt.
Okay, I was not sheltered by any means, but I have no idea what that is. But I am a little bit older. Maybe that came along after me, thank God. My favorite one was driving a certain person's car a bunch and way too many people in the car when we go somewhere, and we'd all yell "Sparks" every time the thing would bottom out, and found out later it was the gas tank hitting. And I'm like, dude, really? So we could have all like exploded at any moment. To use a Rob Brownism, he ain't wrong, is he? Oh, okay. Thank you, Steven, because I wouldn't know about that. Plus, all my friends were stinky. So, I mean, I don't know if I'd have been able to tell the difference. And I've also found that while designated driving a car full of drunk or nearly drunk people, there is a smell. I mean, there absolutely is. Especially if you went out to eat before they started doing all that. And we spent a lot of times at White Castle, which also causes those things, in a place called TJ's, which is a breakfast place. So, eating some gravy and sausage at 3 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, that was redundant, but still, it causes some after effects. And you don't want to roll down the window in the middle of winter in Ohio because it's cold.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the third, the final, the best, the money hour. Glad to have you guys along for the ride on a Tuesday morning.
Hey, Rob, do we need to change our intro?
I don't think so, do we?
The penitentiary may not exist anymore.
They just got split cell blocks now.
Okay.
Guess
All
we'll
right.
find out live and in person on Friday evening, won't we?
Maybe we should call and ask Dom what the procedure is for, split cell blocks.
Friday Night SmackDown on Friday at the Well downtown. Zoe and I will be there in attendance. And that means Thursday afternoon at 11:24, Fight Club! We'll probably do a lot of SmackDown. We may talk some Rumble between here and there. Obviously, if you missed it, Cody Rhodes, son of a plumber. He's a son of a plumber. Wins the Men's Royal Rumble, entering was having him enter at 30 and then win it. Like, by the way, Walter looked incredible.
Gunther.
Walter looked incredible.
The ring canal.
Love that guy. Cody looked good in the limited time. I just didn't like having him.
I think it's a smart move having someone come back for the first match, putting him in at 30 because it's still
an hour.
Well, it's still his first. Yeah, I mean,
Can I tell you what I missed? And I didn't realize how much I missed this until that happened. I missed the segments leading up to the Rumble when wrestlers went and drew the lottery ball to get their number, right? Anyway, we'll talk some wrestling later on in the week, maybe even at the end of this show. What else can we get into? Got a few more things I wanted to get to today on the radio broadcast. Let's see. Is any audio I haven't run yet? Yeah, I guess there is. I think that, you know what? Screw it. I've decided I am going to very quickly address the fact that I'm getting bombarded right now with, softball questions for Shane. Let me make.
So the disciples of someone are coming after you.
I don't know or care who's coming after me. All right. I'm getting hit specifically on
Speaking
social
of
media.
day drinking, I'm just saying.
Sir,
Anyway.
there's nothing wrong with day drinking.
Yeah, but they start like at dawn.
Mimosas.
Is that dawn drinking?
Mimosas.
Okay.
Mimosas are good for you. They're healthy, full of vitamin C. Anyway, I'm getting blasted predominantly on social media for lobbing softballs to Shane. All right. Couple of things. Number one, the interaction that all of you tuned in to hear Shane address, nothing to do with me. Okay? Nothing to do with me. It didn't come from this show. It didn't come from me. There was nothing to address. Number two, if you want to talk about Dow Loggins, which we asked Shane to, Shane has specifically made his position on Dow Loggins very clear. That's what started all this, right? What started all of it was him saying, Dow's my guy. Dow's the guy we wanted the whole time. That was my target. We got the guy, right? So why do you want me to ask him that again? I know that this is going to come to a shock as some of y'all, or to some of y'all. This is going to come as a shock to some of you, but
Probably is like only 2 people. But anyway.
The shock is not everything has to be a debate. Not everything has to be a fight. Sometimes you can just talk ball, right? Shane said Dow Loggins was my guy. He was my target at the beginning. He was my target at the end, right? So would you want me to ask him that again? Hey, Shane, remember that time that you specifically said that Dow Loggins was your target? I don't believe you. Will you address it again? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Right? Because whether or not I respect him enough to believe that it was the truth when he tweeted it is irrelevant. But he already said it. So instead of asking him, hey, was Dow really your guy? Why not give him the chance to put a little gloss on the decision, right? If you believe that Dow Loggins was always the guy, you're not going to change your mind. If you don't believe that, then you're not going to change your mind. So I'd rather find out what about Dow Loggins got Shane excited. What about Dow Loggins led him to hire the guy? And what about Dow Loggins made him put himself out there as strongly as he did? That's all I give a damn about. I was not looking to start a fight. I have no disrespect towards Shane. In fact, I got a lot of admiration towards Shane Beamer because I do think he's doing a hell of a job. And I would like to have, the head coach of a Southeastern Conference University football team come back on this program in the future, like, maybe during football season and talk ball with us. So why would I go after the dude who took time out of his day and schedule? If you come on this show as a guest of the show, you will be treated as a guest. So many of you guys have decided that sports talk means fight. It doesn't. Sometimes you just want to talk ball. Now, I will, as I have his whole tenure in South Carolina. If Shane says something dumb or does something dumb or makes a bad decision or does something I disagree with, I will be happy to call that out and criticize it and ask about it. He is not above criticism. Nobody's above criticism. I'm not. Zoe's not. Shane Beamer's not. Dabo Swinney's not. Nobody's above criticism. But at a point in time where we are just a tick over 24 hours away from multiple players signing their letters officially, at a point in time where Shane would have, let's be honest, much better served being on the phone or in the car recruiting and pitching USC to players, he took 15 minutes out of his day, actually really more like 17 minutes out of his day, to come on this show and speak with us. So why would I be disrespectful to him? Why would I ask him a question or make him make a statement that he's already freaking made when I could just say, hey, you said he's your dude, which, by the way, I said to him, you have already made it abundantly clear that Dow Loggins is your guy. Why? Would you rather him just repeat that somebody didn't have a good source and Dow was always my guy? Or would you like to have him tell you why Dow's your guy? Some of you guys have been brainwashed to believe that butting heads and yelling and screaming is the only way to do sports talk. It's not. We had an opportunity to ask the head coach of a Southeastern Conference football program in our coverage area why he made the OC hire that he made. And frankly, Lonzo, I think he gave an absolute hell of a good answer as to why Dow Loggins was his guy. I don't necessarily agree that Dow Loggins is the right guy, but I think Shane gave a good answer as to why he's the right guy in Shane Beamer's opinion.
By the way, I didn't realize that he knew him from earlier because of all the stink that we've had to deal with around here for a little bit. I just kind of pushed it away and was like, yeah, whatever. In the end, the Gamecocks are a team that I pull for. I'm not pretending. I didn't pull this shirt out of a Goodwill or something. I've got a closet full of shirts because I've followed the Gamecocks since I started in radio. All I care about is winning. And if this is the guy that's going to bring some wins, awesome. And if he's not, then they'll move on from him and find somebody who is. Talking about Dow Loggins.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. All right. 844 fan phone, 844-326-3663 is the phone number if you want to call in and talk about that interview. I'll tell you what we're going to do. So I think we'll go ahead and replay it in the next segment. I've got a couple of people who have asked about it, a couple of people who have checked in, multiple people who have asked about specific questions and answers. I don't rerun interviews, but I feel like this one justifies it. So if you missed the Beamer interview because you had like work or like kids or whatever, coming up here in about 7-8 minutes, we'll run that thing back for you. In case you missed our interview with Shane Beamer back in the first hour. I don't do this often, but I have had enough of you guys that have asked about particular questions, particular answers, that I'll go ahead and give it to you a second time. I will also post it podcast form later on the website at The Fan Upstate and across our social media as well. Texas said, so you're saying Shane's lying? Not what I said. Not what I said. Quite the opposite. Here's the thing. Whether Shane's lying or not is irrelevant. Do you think if I ask him that question and he was lying, he's going to be like, my bad, Rob. You're right. I wasn't lying. I was no.
Stop with all the implying, because people read in, Rob just said, no, he didn't say that. The reason why he didn't ask the question is because the coach has already spoken and said, hey, that's not true. So if you want to press an issue, that implies that you don't believe he's telling the truth. So why would we do that?
Why would I ask a question I already have the answer to? That's basically my point. Why would I ask a question that I already have the answer to? Why not ask a fresh question? Get another set of eyes on it, right? That's how it came across to me. Cocky for a reason says communication is a highly undervalued way of getting things done. Yeah, that's it. I agree.
Especially when you work for technically a communications company. You know, I mean, there's that.
Spur Daddy said, Coach Beamer is the man. Great interview, boys. Looking forward to him being back on the show. And can't wait till tomorrow to see if Coach can land Nicholas Harbor around 1 p.m. I think he's going to be a Gamecock. 24/7, and this was pointed out a little while ago by my buddy Joe B on the stream, which you can watch at facebook.com or by subscribing to the Rob Brown Show on Twitch or YouTube. 24/7 just added another crystal ball prediction that Nicholas Harbor signs with the Gamecocks. I will tell you this. Nicholas Harbor got back over the weekend from his final recruiting visit out to the University of Oregon, which is considered to be the last team standing outside of the Gamecocks for a crack at Nick Harbor. I read the comments from his dad, Azusa Harbor, who has been very outspoken on his son's recruitment so far. And I will tell you that based on the comments that I am getting right now and the quotes from Nicholas Harbor's father, and I am reading deep between the lines, right? I'm reading deep between the lines in a book that I'm not sure I know the language of yet. But in the comments that Nicholas Harbor's dad has made about his recruitment to South Carolina and the comments his dad has made about his recruitment to Oregon, especially this last trip out to Eugene, he sounds, and again, reading deep between the lines, like he's much more excited about Columbia than Eugene. Now, that might be a swerve, right? There might be a last-minute swerve. Maybe he goes somewhere else. Maybe he's just trying to, keep the noise down, to keep the NIL talking. I have no idea. I don't know him. I don't know the kid. I don't know his dad. I don't know the recruiting process that either school has gone through. But the comments from his pops about Oregon have not had nearly the juice behind them that the comments about South Carolina have had, A, and B. Again, I don't do a ton of recruiting sites are saying X, Y, and Z, but a lot of the 24/7 guys are putting crystal balls out that Nicholas Harbor signs with the Gamecocks tomorrow. And I'll tell you that I am also leaning that direction. I think Nick Harbor signs on the line with Shane Beamer tomorrow, and that would be an enormous pickup. An enormous pickup. Texas says Harbor not going to SC. We'll find out tomorrow, around 1 o'clock. Then we'll talk about it on Thursday morning. Texter said Rob didn't defend the station in order to have that guy in an interview after trashing the station. Listen, again, I'm done with this conversation. What was said from the Fan Upstate Twitter account should not have been said on the Fan Upstate Twitter account. It should have been on a personal profile, and Shane responded to that, not me. I have nothing to do with that situation. I was not involved in that conversation. I've got no desire to inject myself into that conversation. And if all you were tuning in to hear was me and Shane or Shane in the station butt heads, I got no interest in that. I'm not the show for you. I got no reason to butt heads with Shane. I'd rather have him be somebody who's willing to check into the show during football season. Having Shane talk to me about the football program is more valuable than me sitting in this chair speculating over and over and not getting to ask him questions in the future. I'm done with that conversation. If you were looking for me to butt heads with Shane Beamer, you got the wrong show and the wrong host. Sorry. If something needs to be criticized, I'll criticize it. But that's on the field stuff. Nothing else matters to me. Let me take a break. When we come back here in just a second from right now, we will rerun that Shane Beamer interview for you. If you missed it, your chance to catch up, it was about an hour and a half ago. If you weren't tuned in, we'll have it for you next of the podcast version posted shortly after the show. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo's at the board, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
church sometimes, and the mice are still in there moving around. You can't hear them. That's how quiet they
Fair
have
enough.
to be. I've never given it much thought till that moment, but that just kind of is why I believe that.
Skrilla said Rob took it easy on Beamer, give him softball. Should have asked the hard question, like, what's on a hot dog and who's his favorite wrestler or tag team of all time? Come on, Rob, don't let us down. I will tell you this: if and when we can get a stream with Beamer, I will absolutely ask him wrestling questions and the hot dog question. All right, guys, we're going to put up the away video, but leave the audio on for this interview. So don't go anywhere. Check the interview, and we will come back and give it another run after that. The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages, welcome in. Glad to have you. And now we are very pleased and honored to welcome in the head coach of the University of South Carolina football team, Shane Beamer, joins us here on the Rob Brown Show. Coach, we appreciate it, man. Great to have you on the show, big dog.
Great to be on. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, man. I know you guys are wild busy as we get ready for signing day, making some trips. How's everything going on that front?
Everything's been good. Busy month of January for sure. Trying to solidify our roster as we go into spring practice and then finish up on the road recruiting. We've been gone traveling for the last 2.5 weeks and finally off the road this week and doing everything by phone and a lot happening leading into tomorrow with signing day, and then certainly our current team as well. It's great to be back in Columbia and be able to be fully, immersed with those guys also.
Love to hear it, Coach. And obviously, listen, I don't want the inside info, not asking to twist any arms, but I've only been asked, and I'm sure you have to, about 1,000 times about your conversations with one of the big names we're still waiting to fall, Nicholas Harbor. Seems to me like you guys have had some great conversations with him and other guys that we're starting to see you really make roads with outside of the region, outside of the upstate, outside of South Carolina. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you guys have really seemed to gain some momentum in terms of expanding what has traditionally been South Carolina's recruitment front?
Yeah, we certainly want to start always in the state of South Carolina, and we did a great job of that in the class of 2023 with, great players from the state of South Carolina. Guys like Marquis Anderson from there in the upstate was a huge pickup for us, and so thankful that he's part of our program. And then as the start that we're off to right now with the class of 2024 in the state of South Carolina is couldn't be better than what it is right now. So we're always going to start here, but we also have an unbelievable university to sell here to recruit to from an academic standpoint. The city of Columbia is phenomenal, and the opportunity to play SEC football is a huge thing as well for so many young men. So we've got a lot of great things going on here at Carolina, which make us attractive to a lot of players. And we typically will still go into areas that have always been strong for South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, but we've branched out into the Northeast a little bit more. And frankly, there's a lot of, students here at the University of South Carolina from the Northeast, that part of the country. For kids that want to play SEC football, we're the closest SEC school to them. It's an easy ride down Interstate 95. And so many of these young men grew up, driving through Columbia on their way to Florida or Hilton Head or wherever in the summertime for vacations. So there's a lot of natural ties, and we've been able to capitalize on that, and we'll continue to as well.
Coach, we've had a lot of discussions on this show and other shows about the transfer portal. I'm curious, how does it change your approach to recruiting? Does it change how you vet prospective players, knowing that the transfer portal is always a possibility?
It certainly starts in recruiting for us, making sure that we're recruiting, great young men into our program that come from, great families and that are about the right stuff and are choosing South Carolina for the right reasons and not anything beyond the opportunity to play SEC football, get a great education, and be a part of a really, really special culture. That's what the guys that we're looking for, guys that love football and love to compete and want to be a part of that. And but certainly the transfer portal is a factor right now. There's no question about it, and every school is impacted by it, by whether it be bringing players in or like we have, or losing some to the portal like we have as well. But the thing that we do is we try and start, like I said, start in recruiting with the type of people we're bringing into our program, continue to be the same people once they get here that we were in recruiting. Don't make false promises in recruiting. That's going to come back and hurt you once they get to your program. What you see with us is what you get, and that's honesty. And then once guys get in here, we try and make it a great experience for them. And if somebody feels like this isn't the place for them and they have an opportunity elsewhere, then, wish them well and move on. But, we got a lot of great young men in our program, but it has changed it in the sense that it is a factor. And then you also realize that, every year you're probably going to lose some guys to the portal, and the portal is now available that, if you have an immediate need that you need some maturity and experience at immediately, the portal gives you an avenue to, try and take advantage of that a little bit quicker.
Coach Shane Beamer, head coach of the University of South Carolina football team here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. And Coach, I think kind of what you were alluding to there for just a second was culture. And one of the things that I have been very impressed by your time in Columbia has been developing the culture of the Gamecocks, instilling your vision of the culture in South Carolina. It has got the fans whipped up, at least here in the upstate. We've obviously seen players starting to buy in, and obviously I think your attitude kind of reflects in that. How important has it been for you to kind of instill your own vision of this culture, to grow the Gamecocks' excitement about that culture, about the program? And do you think that your success this season, especially late, is kind of a direct result of that?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a direct result of the way that we've come together as a team. And it's harder and harder to do nowadays just because your roster turns over so much every single year. And you just brought in, a high school signing class. Now it's a high school signing class and, quite a few transfers, some more than others, depending on the school. So it's a challenge every year because you're starting over in a lot of ways with a lot of new faces. I love that part of the job, trying to build the culture, but certainly the success that we've had the last 2 seasons and the success that we had down the stretch is a testament to the people in this program, the love and the care that they have for one another. We don't play like we do against Florida and then come back and do what we did against Tennessee and Clemson if we don't have something special going on in this program, and that's the people that we have in this program. So we take a lot of pride in that, and for us, it's just one, I love coaching here. I love where I'm at. I'm passionate about this state. I'm passionate about this university and this city, and I'm passionate about being a Gamecock. And I think that it's not a job for me. And I think that shows in how we do things here in this program. And it's a program that we work really, really hard. We hold these guys accountable. It's very demanding, but we also want to make sure there's a lot of joy within this program as well. And I think you're seeing that.
Talk to me, Coach, a little bit. I remember back in the season, there was a little bit of a dust-up with another SEC coach who talked about the dancing and the glasses, but that, to me, has been something that genuinely shined about you and your time at South Carolina, the social media videos that have come out and all that. And it seems to be something that players both on your team and potential recruits have really attached themselves to and come to love about you. Just that loose goose, having fun, but also taking football seriously. Where does that come from?
All right, hold on a second. You stole my question. Because I can't dance. And Shane Beamer can dance, and I've seen it, and I wanted to ask him,
so
how much does he charge an hour for choreography?
We'll stick with that question and ask Coach, where did you pick up the moves?
Well, y'all are kind. I can't dance, but you guys are kind to say that. You're the first person that's ever told me that I could, so thank you. I appreciate that. But no, I think with me, it's what you see is what you get. I'm going to be me. I think sometimes you see guys become head coaches, particularly at a level like this, and there's a certain way that they feel like they have to act, and they're one way in front of the cameras, and they're another way behind the cameras. And I'm me. If we're successful, it's going to be because of that, and if we're not successful, it's going to be because of that. I'm not going to try and change who I am, but I think it goes back to, we talk a lot about joy and positive energy, and that's me. This is a high pressure, volatile profession that I chose. It's highly demanding. I get it. If we don't win football games and graduate players, I get fired. I realize that, but I also realize how extremely blessed I am to be in this position and the opportunity that I have here at Carolina. So I'm going to have a whole lot of fun doing it as well. And we've got an amazing social media department that, has some great ideas and does things like that. And you're right. I'll probably, we want to try and sell our program and market our program. And I've probably been even surprised a little bit more, to be honest with you, the impact that it has on prospects. I mean, we had an unbelievable group of prospects on our campus 2 Saturdays ago, and so many of them just came up to me and they had like their screensaver, or they had a photo saved of me dancing in the locker room after Kentucky or the Soulja Boy dance this past summer and things like that. They had that on their phones. And even back in July when the Soulja Boy thing went out, that thing posted on social media, and within 10 minutes, I probably had 20 plus text messages from recruits. And, my kids like it. And if recruits like it, that's a good thing too. So it's just me being me. And some people love it, some people don't, but I'm gonna try and do things the right way and have a lot of fun while I do it too.
All right. I got one more follow-up because I can't be completely serious, but I'm curious about this. Do you buy your own sunglasses or are they provided to you?
They were provided. I do not have a pair of those sunglasses. Somebody gave them to me for the Soulja Boy video, and then somebody gave them to me to wear after the Kentucky game. So they were not mine. I think my kids took them. I think one of my daughters has them right now in her room, but they were not mine. No.
I was gonna say that'd have been a hell of a trip to the Sunglass Hut with Coach Beamer.
Yeah.
Shane Beamer, head coach of the South Carolina Gamecock football program, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Let's talk for just a second, Coach, if you don't mind, about your new offensive coordinator, Dow Loggins. This is a hire, obviously, that you have called a number of times. This was your guy. This is the guy. Can you talk to us a little bit about what stood out about Dow Loggins that made him your guy? And I know he kind of runs that pro style offense. What was it that attracted that offense, or attracted you to that offense? And how do you think it fits with both the players you have on campus already and the ones that you were trying to bring in? Has switching that offense from SAT to Loggins changed the type of players you're looking at in the recruiting process?
That part first. No, not really. I mean, we're still looking for the same type guys, and going back to, well, first of all, with us offensively, we've done some good things offensively the last couple of years, but we've been way too inconsistent. We've turned the ball over way too many times. I mean, 2 straight years we've turned the ball over more than any team in the SEC, and that starts with me. But that's absolutely ridiculous to do 2 years in a row. So we've got to protect the ball better, and we've got to be more consistent game in, game out. We're not going to score 40 points every single game, but there's just got to be a consistency that we've got to be better at, and that starts with me as the head coach. And then in regards to Dow, he's somebody that I've known for a long time. I first met him when I was here as an assistant coach at South Carolina, and he was coaching with the Tennessee Titans, and have got to know him on a personal level and have visited him with different NFL teams and watched him coach and know what kind of person he is and what he's about. He's been around some fantastic coaches. He's been around, different types of quarterbacks at different levels in their career, whether it be rookies or whether it be veterans. And so many of those guys spoke highly of him. And I knew what a critical hire this was. So, I mean, I talked to a lot of people, players that he coached, like Alshon Jeffrey and Connor Shaw, and then coaches that he's coached with, and so many things came back that were positive about him. And then the thing that I like is he's been around different types of quarterbacks in the NFL. He's been around different systems in the NFL, but then he's able to take what he saw in the NFL that was good, but then he's had 2 years at Arkansas in more of a college type RPO type offense. And, I think that's great when you're a pro coach that goes to the college level. You see that sometimes these NFL coaches can overthink things and do too much. And it gets down to players, and the NFL is a matchup game. So I love the fact that he's able to take his time in the NFL and the systems he's been a part of. It's just all about matchups, and marry that with what they've done at Arkansas the last 2 seasons. as well. So excited about that part of it. I've said it before. He had other SEC schools that were interested in him, that were talking to him at the same time I was. So I'm fortunate that he chose to come to South Carolina. It was important for me to get somebody in here that had a history of working with quarterbacks, because certainly Spencer Rattler had a decision to make, and the hire for Dow wasn't just about this season; it's about long term. But I'm also not naive. I wanted Spencer Rattler to come back as our quarterback, and he needed to feel good about this, and he did and does. And then since Dow's been here, he's been fantastic. From a recruiting standpoint, he has been unbelievable. I think you're seeing that already, the impact he's had on the recruiting trail, and then with our players as well. I mean, we hired Dow, and Juice Wells and Spencer and some other guys still had decisions to make, and they chose to stay. And it wasn't all because of Dow Loggins, but he had a lot to do with that too.
Shane Beamer is the head coach of the University of South Carolina Gamecock football program, coming off of his second year in charge of that program, an overall 8-5 season with huge wins over Tennessee and Clemson at the end of the year. Coach, man, it has been an absolute honor and privilege to have you on. I appreciate it. And hopefully, if you'll allow us, we'll get you back on maybe close to the spring game and run it back.
Yep, we'd love to. Appreciate you guys having me on, and hope all of you have a great week.
Fantastic, Coach. Thank you very much. That, ladies and gentlemen, was Shane Beamer, head coach of the University of South Carolina Gamecock football program. There was actually, Zoe, only one question I did not get because he had to get on the road, finish up recruiting before signing day tomorrow. And he kind of answered it in the middle there, but I wanted to expand on it, which was the relationship between coaching staff, administration, and that social media team. Because you heard him say in the middle, he's like, look, the social media team takes that stuff, they turn it into content. That content gets the attention of recruits, etc. So we'll get Shane Beamer back on maybe closer to the spring game, get a chance to run that by him, especially after we get a look at the roster that develops as we head closer to that. Good interview.
Yeah, I'm going to have to find another choreographer, man. I thought I had it. Thought I was going to get him on the air to say, yes, he would teach me.
Shane Beamer, Gamecock football coach, and hell of a dance instructor. Good stuff. Appreciate Shane. Appreciate Steve Fink over in the SID office for helping us set that up. And we'll get Shane-O back on closer to the spring game as the Fan Upstate.
Tomorrow night against Chattanooga. Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Taylor Bashali, NFL Network. Now on the West Coast One Radio Network, we have our
Sorry about having to do it that way, but there are certain way things are wired and stuff like that. So there was no way we could play the interview over the stream and still talk to anybody. To the degree where Rob had to be really still. And he almost did it. He almost did it.
I am incapable of not fidgeting.
I had to do the old school marm thing
Just the look.
and point like, no, you put that over there for a reason. Don't pick that back up again.
With Jackson Hewitt, don't wait weeks for the IRS to send your tax refund. Come in now for up to $3,500 with a no interest, no fee refund advance loan when you file your taxes. That's up to $3,500 today. Don't let high prices get you down. I every dollar matters, it matters who does your taxes. Jackson today. For eligible clients, loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Did you know you could be driving in a pile of cash, like right now? Bumper makes it easy to know what your car is worth. The used car market is hot right now. Bumper.com can be your opportunity to make some bank. Bumper.com lets you know what your car's worth based on your car's specific details. So whether you're selling or just want to know, Bumper makes it easy. Know what your car is worth. Just go to Bumper.com.
For buying and beyond, Bumper.com.
Bumper reports are based upon data available. Bumper may not have include historical records.
For buying and beyond.
Dancing through, trip for two, nailed the final interview. Game done. Brand new one. Come here, kid. Give me a hug. The more you want to do, the more we want to do. Learn about eligibility and schedule a free updated booster vaccines.gov. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
I'm waiting.
Streaming only on Peacock. From the
If I didn't say it right away, it
Yeah, no,
meant,
I know, that's why
I
I'm
mean,
waiting.
if you want to take us off the stream
Twitter.
for a
Is it
second.
Twitter thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Then no, save it.
We are not walking on eggshells, but same team.
Walking on eggshells.
Crunch, crunch.
Whoa, I'm walking on eggshells. Whoa, it doesn't feel good.
By the way, stay tuned if you want to win Furman tickets because we still didn't give them away, and we're going to give them away
Out of the break.
as
Ending the show.
as we go to as we finish the show. Because I can't hear. I mean, I squeeze. I can only squeeze, so I'm not. I just can't. Don't blame it on me being old. I'll take that because it's true. That's not the reason, but we can go with that.
This afternoon, cloudy with a couple of showers, high of 64.
Weather brought to you by the Specialized Recruiting Group. The Specialized Recruiting Group takes an individual approach, placing people in contract and full-time roles. SRGExpress.com. Now placing in accounting roles. From the Ingalls Market Studio,
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Up. Stay tuned because when we go out to break here in a few minutes, when we end the show here in a few minutes,
Well, technically, it's still going to
21-hour break.
Yeah.
when we go to our long break coming up here in about 12 minutes, we have got a family 4-pack of tickets for you to this Saturday night's Furman basketball doubleheader. You got the ladies playing early and the fellas playing late. And we have got a pair of tickets for you. 4 tickets for you to go to both games on our dime, courtesy of our friends over at Furman and the Bon Score Wellness Arena. So make sure you stay tuned because we will give those tickets away coming up in about, about 10 minutes from right now. Let's wrap the show up with a couple of things I wanted to get into. I've been asked a lot about the Nicholas Harbor thing. I told you guys earlier. I think that he's a Gamecock tomorrow, but we will find out. NFL betting odds are out. Actually, let me go with something else. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, wide receiver, Kansas City Chiefs, had himself a day on Sunday when he helped the Chiefs get by the Cincinnati Jabronis and make it to the Super Bowl. Well, Valdez-Scantling and the rest of his Chiefs family are getting set up and ready for Super Bowl 57 in a tick under 2 weeks. If you have not been paying attention or like watching football at all, you may or may not know that the Super Bowl halftime show this year will be performed by Rihanna, the mega pop superstar. Rihanna will be hosting, or I should say performing, the halftime show. And Marquez Valdes-Scantling had a question. So he popped up on Twitter yesterday and put up the tweet that said, quote, "Serious question. Can I watch Rihanna perform at halftime?" Quote unquote. My dude is asking for fan and coach feedback on the question, can I pop out of the locker room for a quick 8 minutes to watch Rihanna drop it low on stage?
That's not unprecedented. If I recall, I can't remember who it was, but I've seen this happen a couple times where players came out and watched the halftime show. And of course, cameras are going to catch them out there watching it. So I'm sure.
Didn't Ocho Cinco do that once?
I think it's happened multiple times, and I think Andy will be okay with it, especially if he has the kind of game in the Super Bowl that he had in the AFC Championship. Yeah, go out there and enjoy yourself.
Do anything he wants if he does that.
Because the Super Bowl is an extended halftime anyway, so a lot of the things that they need to get taken care of, they can get taken care of pretty quick.
All right, boys, get in here, huddle up. Let's make some adjustments so that we can get him into the brain and then head out there and check out Rihanna for a minute.
I want to see Andy Reid out there dancing. I know it's been a theme for the show, but I want to see Andy Reid out there just getting it.
And by the way, don't hit me with that's not how real footballers do it, because I have seen your old-timer photos of Johnny Unitas throwing back heaters and beer during halftime. All right?
Lynn Dawson.
Yeah.
Famous on the bench.
Yeah. Knocking back heaters before the next possession. Throwing down the old stick. Speaking of, will it be a great game? I think so. Check this out. The early money in this game is almost all Philly. Early bettors believing in the Eagles, 70% of the early money at BetMGM. You can listen to BetMGM tonight at 7 o'clock. 70% of the early money is coming in on Philly to cover the spread. 68% of the money line handle is also riding on Philly to straight up win the game. Minutes after KC put away the Jabronis, the Chiefs open as a 1.5 point favorite over Philly. 49 minutes later, so much money came in on Philly plus 1.5 that the line swung all the way to Philly minus 2.5. Philly is going into this thing as a favorite. They did not open as the favorite. They opened as a 1.5 dog. Now they're a 2.5, 2 point spread, depending on what book you looked at. If that stays true, Lonzo, how about this number? Patrick Mahomes will be playing in career game number 94 when he starts Super Bowl 57 for the Kansas City Chiefs. It is 94 games as a starting quarterback for the Chiefs. This will be how many times do you think Patrick Mahomes has been an underdog in 94 games? Let's play the Rob Brown Show home edition. Everybody write down your answer. How many times in his 93 games so far has Patrick Mahomes been an underdog?
I'm going to go with 2.
10.
Okay. So I lowballed it. What
yeah, but I also set you up to lowball it. You knew it was a low number. 10 times in his 94-game career that the Chiefs are dogs. In those 10, Mahomes is 7-1-1, or in those 9, Mahomes is 7-1-1 against the spread and 6-3 straight up money line when he enters the game as a dog. So he wins twice as often as he loses when he enters as a dog. That's a big number. Last time KC appeared in the Super Bowl, they were missing 80% of their starters across the offensive line. That was the, I don't know, Lonzo, numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 reason that they got smoked by Brady and the Bucs in that game.
Yeah, he was running for his life.
Yep. This time their main positions are wide receiver and cornerback that they'll be missing at, and quarterback. Because while Mahomes looked fine, adequate to beat Cincinnati on Sunday, A high ankle sprain is usually a 5 to 8 week timeline to get back to 100%. Patrick Mahomes will be entering that game on 3 weeks rest. Don't tell me it's not going to have an impact. Part of the reason that 70% of the early dollars came in on Philly, enough to swing that line a full 3.5 points.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
All right, time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending on the internet, and he will tell us why it is trending. The first thing that's trending is showering.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what anybody says. You should be showering once a day. All right. And the fact that we still have people out there not showering once a day is both shocking and disgusting. Here's my big question, Lonzo, because this question got popped up on my Twitter a couple of days ago, and I thought about asking it on air. So here we are. If somebody in your immediate vicinity stinks, do you tell them?
No, you find, well, I think you find other means.
Yeah.
By putting things that out that they may go, okay, why are they
Why are
doing
you
that?
lighting 8 candles next to my desk?
Yeah,
Rob?
yeah. There you go. That might be a sign that something's going on.
I think you give like a sign or two. And if they don't pick up the hint, especially if you like work together, right? If your coworker is one of those weirdos that gets up at 4 a.m. to hit the gym and then come straight to work, if they show up and they're reeking of BO every day, I think after a while it's okay to go, hey, Jim, I respect your dedication to hitting the gym in the AM. No disrespect, dude. But you might want to hit the showers or at least throw another couple of runs of the Old Spice on before you come into the workplace.
Hey, admittedly, in the nerd cave, there are times when we've been in there a few hours, the air doesn't circulate as much as it should. There's a little bit of a smell in there. It's kind of a locker room smell, and I think that's a us together type thing. It's not one smelling worse than the other. It just happens if you're in a room with someone for a really long period of time. There's a difference between that and walking into, let's say, the upstairs bathroom.
I mean, listen.
If you're smelling that kind of smell somewhere, then there's a
If you
problem.
go to the bathroom reeks, that's one thing, right? Like that happens to us every day.
Daily, yes.
But if I'm sitting 4 or 5
And
feet from
don't
you,
be thinking that your office smells worse than ours, because I can tell you, I'm talking about our restroom. It does not.
it doesn't. Morning radio, people. We got time for one more?
We do.
Is that the one you were laughing at? What's the one you were laughing at?
Showering.
Oh, okay. Just
Okay.
making sure.
The next thing is trending is DC.
DC, as in Washington or as in the comic books?
Comic books.
No idea why it's trending. Has there been another announcement?
All right. So James Gunn has said that he would let everyone know what the slate of movies are going to be by the end of January. Today is the end of January, and supposedly we're going to get some stuff dropping right after noon.
Okay. Well, I guess we know what we're doing after the show. Hosting the Shane Beamer interview and going to see what James Gunn has to say. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the day. You got any comments, any feedback about that Beamer interview? Feel free to send it to us at The Rob Brown Show on Twitter or Facebook. The Fan Upstate is on Facebook. You can hit us on Twitter at The Fan Upstate or on my Twitter at The Rob Brown Show. His at Lonzo one word. Hey, I got 4 tickets to Furman basketball to give away. Caller number
2.
Caller number 2 right now is winning a family 4-pack of tickets for this Saturday night at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena, a doubleheader of college basketball. The women's game at 3, the men's game at 6. Caller number 2 is getting into both of those games with a family 4-pack of tickets from our friends at Furman and the Bon Secours Wellness Arena. You want those tickets? 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. Caller number 2 is getting those tickets for everybody else. We'll see you back here tomorrow on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we're going to cut out so Lonzo can answer the phones. Thank you guys for hanging out. You are the best. See you tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye-bye.